Welcome everybody on this wonderful Mondays. We're going to bring you another week one matchup for season 6 of AGL. With me, I am King Batu. On the desk, I have with me here Guardian. As we're going to bring you a low diamond Gladiators match between Legionary Cohort and Arctic Vice. Guardian, how are we doing today, and how are you feeling for this match?
I'm very good. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing awesome. Always good to see some spite, especially with the mid-season patch, the new god coming out. Always excited for some new things going. But again, as I mentioned before, we got a low diamond matchup here. A lot of names that I personally know, so I'm excited to see some players on both sides, either coming up through the rankings or some personal friends there. But overall, with this match, should be interesting to see is we know in SPL and SOC, SCC, all that. We've seen a lot of healers in the solo lane, some meta going around there, and a lot of tankier jungles, some cool mid lane picks. Or anything in particular you're looking for, Guardian?
I'm trying to see. I see this every game, although he is being insta banned every single round, no matter where you play, and he's getting banned. Gilgamesh. It's just an addiction.
I can be right there with you. I haven't played too much of the god, but just that the abilities, nice smooth feeling. But I do think he's probably going to be a priority, either pick or ban in this match, just with that drop kick and the Winds of Smosh with so much to space control and CC. Um, really can make it a lot there. But we also seen a lot of other heavy bands, a lot mage center, just from everything from the new Morgan Le Fay, Tiamat, as well as we also seen some more kind of niche bands as Soul kind of bounces in and out. Um, but with that, we won't keep you guys any longer. We'll go ahead right and jump into these picks and bans here. Again, this is a low diamond vision between Arctic Vice and Legionary cohorts, but we'll get into these picks and bans here for you. It looks like we do have it going through. But again, yeah, like a lot of these things that we're seeing here, I'm going to probably be looking for those mage bands. You seem to be wanting that Gilgamesh through here. Do you think that's something that they're going to let through? And if so, do you think they're going to probably, what are you looking for the other team to probably trade out in return for that?
Well, see, I'm not sure if they will let Gilgamesh through, as he is extremely strong due to the things you mentioned with his Wings of Shamash being able to slow and just a really good area denial with a quite short cooldown for how much it can do, and his drop kick being such a good way to CC and just if the enemy team is smart, just put off areas in general if they want to, let's not go around the corner unless we want to get drop kicked. But yeah, I think it'd be interesting if we do see him. I think we'd probably see I don't know, to be fair.
Yeah, and well, with that, as we hop in advance, Arctic Vice having that first pick opt to ban the Odin. We've seen that resurgent just with a lot of the gods in the meta not being able to get out of that cage. Really strong as just a solo laner right now. Late game, Odin's nearly impossible to kill. And with those bows being the kind of meta now, Artemis really strong. She's getting banned out by Legionary.
Yeah, Morgan Le Fay ban as well. Morgan Le Fay, after her release, she hasn't seen too many nerfs. She is still probably one of the better mages right now, no matter where you put her with her extra movement speed on her three, if you hit an enemy or not, being able to rotate, and just her damage with her fear, her slows, and her ultimate, allowing her to heal and get some really good poke onto the enemy.
Yeah, one of the best ranged mages out there. And when you have a Hunbat's alt on your one, I can't help but think that that's always going to be pretty strong if you got the damage behind it. But unfortunately for you, looks like we're not going to be able to see that Gilgamesh, at least not for game one. But as we round out these bands, like I mentioned before, focusing on those mages in a strong place with Raijin and Tiamat to wrap up these last of the first phase bands.
Yeah, these are very standard bans. Rajan, he's been quite strong for a decent while now with his amazing shredding ability from long ranges. And Tiamat, obviously, I don't really think that needs much more, to be fair. Just Tiamat.
She's seen many nerfs and still out there at the top, and understandably so. Raijin, and like you mentioned before, just with those abilities, has that great early game and also strong late game, which isn't something we see of many hunters or mages, excuse me, but something we've been seeing a lot of because he's very strong. Osiris is going to be this first pick lock in for the Arctic Vice.
Yeah, Osiris, he is quite good right now as, solo lane healers. They're very popular. So, and with his ultimate, 100% healing reduction, so he can just jump on them. But he's been seeing a lot of playing the jungle as well.
Yeah, with those kind of hybrid junglers able to have that kind of good burst damage with some of the items, and Osiris does like to have a lot of that damage around to kind of back up that tankiness to really make you have to respect his dive and when he's around. And of course, with that tether, that stun, that very long lasting stun that you can just blink in and put that in gives so much pressure. But some interesting picks we see a lot for Legionari. Scylla, again, another strong mage with so many mages banned away. And then they want to lock in the Fafnir, which is usually around a double hunter comp, but Arctic Vice see that and will kind of want to take a couple pieces of that away as they block in the Soul, could be Flex Mid or ADC, and the Yamoja for themselves. The Guardian that we don't normally see because it does kind of have that higher skill ceiling, but I love to watch play.
Yeah, Yamudra, she is very satisfying to play, just bopping those bubbles up and down with those stuns, and also easy shield thread if they do choose to build any shield givers or havers on their team. Fafnir, as you said, he is quite interesting with he can just pressure the enemy team with those interesting and high attack speed and attack damage buff. We are seeing an Anhur played into the Fafnir, which will work very well with Fafnir's 2, which gives them auto attack rate and damage.
Yeah, on her, the one of the few hunters that we see in the meta still, just because it's on her. He's got that insane pressure, be able to leap in, leap away, that ultimate, which despite getting a cooldown increase is still very strong. And of course, that impale, just so much pressure that he's going to have. So kind of makes up for that as far as not having that built-in stem. But so far in these first rounds, I've seen some both solid both ways. And as we hit those second bans, we can kind of see where the meta's leading us is Holly and the Izanami are both banned out here as we start the second phase.
Yeah, it's an army. She might have actually been a piece to Legionary cohort's puzzle, but apparently they just wanted the Anhur, which is not a surprise why. Carly, she's quite strong right now too. She can just leap in, use her ult, and then leap back out, even if she doesn't get a kill or not. So she is also quite strong.
Last couple bans, Legionari, again focusing towards that ADC with the last ban as they ban the Chernobog. Arctic Vice kind of spreading out their bans, banning a Kakan last ban, which leaves us Erlang open. Looks to probably be, my guess, in the jungle. We haven't seen too much Erlang solo, as strong as it can be in the early game. But Arctic Vice locking the Circuit, which probably means that this is going to be an Osiris jungle, from what I can understand.
Yeah. So Kat, she is once again another strong character right now. She can just leap onto people with that true damage poison and just throw them back into their team and just deal with them quite easily with that. Erlang Shen, he's one of my favorite warriors right now, or just in general, as he has so much potential in the early and the late game. As he has his early spike, just because he does, he's Erlang at the end of the day, and his end spike when he gets that auto attack damage, and yeah, it's just great.
And this last pick, Disco, I'm really a favor of this. You've got so many early pressure picks: the Osiris, the Surcat, even the Soul, which looks to be the ADC here in this lane. Means that passive could have some really good pressure early game for Arctic Vice. But Legionary, they decided to go with the Sobek, which I would presume to be over in the solo lane. Don't think we'll see any Fafnir mids like we saw in the Collegiate League. Um, but that means that if we get to late game, they're going to have this really strong front line with Erlang Shen being a part of that too, and just the Scylla on her back line. They get there. I think this late game is going to favor Legionary, but I don't know how easily they get there with this Arctic Vice draft.
If they do manage to get there, as you said, Scylla, she is very strong late game, even past that 25-minute mark. All I wish is good luck to Arctic Vice. Although if Arctic Vice do manage to stop them from getting to that 25-30-minute mark, then I feel like they should have a strong chance, as Sol, Osiris, and Discordia can be quite good not during any time of the match.
Oh, it looks like we're in agreements here. Arctic Vice, they got the early game. Legionary cohorts, though, do have the late game. We won't keep you any longer here, though. We'll take it over to a cast with Blur and TJ DJ.
Oh, thank you so much to King Retu and Guardian there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Battleground of the Gods. TJ DJ here, and I have the absolute pleasure of being joined by Supersonic Blur for this one. How are you doing, my friend? Are you looking forward to some
I'm not doing
Smite?
too bad. Oh, I'm always looking forward to some Smite, and this This game certainly looking to start things off with a pretty good bang as we see these two teams. A lot of names that, like we said, some recognizable ones. Big one for me is Tomahawk Warrior over in the solo lane. But like they said on the desk with this drafts, it's the sort of battle of the early to late game here. And Arctic Vice, they're the ones with the early game. So they're the ones who've got to make this early game count.
Oh, for sure, and definitely giving them a lot of tools as well. I'm thinking in particular that Discordia passive. It's not something you really think about until you really feel that extra damage to the whichever god on your team is currently doing the most amount of damage at the time. But it seems to be quite that age-old question between early game and late game. So, I mean, if you were the draft coach for either of these, which do you prefer? Do you prefer to roll early on or maybe play for that late game insurance?
I think for me, I don't mind running a late game team. The thing that you can't have is every lane being late game. So once you've got this fantastic Legionary comp of, you've got Scylla's with great team fight with the Soulbet coming through and the Erlang is going to do all that, and you've got Fafnir coming through. You've got to make sure some lane has some kind of an initiative. So that's that in this case is this on her coming through. They've recognized that they would be in a very awkward situation if they just let Arctic Vice get away with everything. So for me, this duo lane is where Legionaries need to try and keep their kind of foothold. But against a Soul Umoja, that's going to be very difficult to do.
Yes, I do feel it will be, especially with Yamojin. I was quite surprised to see that Yamoja let through. It does have a lot of ban pressure, but it does feel like we're going to have plenty of time to talk about now, as we do have some early scuffling between these two teams in the mid lane over to the right-hand side. Harpy's unsure which team really secured that one out, but we do get to this point where junglers have been foregoing taking those back XP camps in order to directly try and impact that mid lane. So a little bit more of an adaptation as this meta has sort of played out, and also just how the game has been playing out here.
Plus, it also means as well that when solo laners inevitably run out of things to farm and get bored of fighting, they've got something else they can go farm now. So
happy days.
I'm always down for as a solo laner getting more farm by doing nothing but stealing it from the. I mean, the jungler's benevolently gifting it to us.
Oh, just on a silver platter as well. Not quite the red carpet. I mean, it would be quite awkward to roll that one around some of these jungle paths as this Erlang Shin remains in mid lane. That's an engage coming through from the circuit, and this might just be the first blood for Alpha Lizard to kick things off here in the mid lane, as well as Akira Rakdos did opt to stay around quite a while longer, and just waiting in the wings was the goddess of poison herself.
You cannot ever forget who has been in the lane. Circuit just left the lane to go towards the left-hand side, and that immediately, you know, they've got Blink, you know they have Ambush and Deathbane. They can get back incredibly quickly. You cannot just pretend that they don't exist. If you saw them back, go for it. But watching them walk out of lane, do you not think they might turn around? It's a bit unfortunate to see that. I like the idea of Akira going, hey, it's a 2v1, let's fight this, but it wasn't a 2v1, it was a 2v1 and a half.
The circuit just waiting in that quite wonderfully named ambush as well, which is definitely what that felt like, and a bit of a punish as well. So his first blood is going to feel absolutely fantastic for Arctic Vice as well, especially in the mid lane. Discordia wanting to get the unlock the mid lane, get a few of these rotations going. I do want to harken back to the duo lane, which I think we were touching on just a little bit earlier as well. I do feel that when you have the likes of the Soul, you are waiting on a few more items to really start hitting a stride. So it is going to be on Arctic Vice to really push forward and try and get the Soul into that mid-game sort of state, because right now, yeah, she hurts a chunk, but it is kind of an inverse bell curve at the moment.
I can certainly see that, and you can see the Legionnaires, they've had that little bit of success in this sort of duo lane of holding back the pressure that could potentially have come out, which I like to be able to see this. Now we're going to see whether or not Pugsley is going to start rotating, and this could be dangerous if we do start seeing Legionnaires start roaming this. They almost flip the script on its head. Arctic Vice are the ones with all the pressure. Okay, well, if we out-pressure them, suddenly their whole game plan falls apart. Now our late game comes on really quickly. So I like that we saw that potential from Legionnaires, and I also like the fact that they didn't force it. It's just, let's roam around. Can we get the oracles? Nope. All right, let's just farm back up and get back together. I expect we're going to see some rotations from the duo lane, or the supports at the very least, once these thieves come online.
Yeah, just seeing a bit of the, I want to say more posturing as well. It's probably getting some of that early vision down. Also knowing perhaps that junglers, hang on a minute, that is a blink coming through here from the Osiris onto the Sobek, trying to do the Totem of Ku, has got ultimate foot and will lurk into the waters. Perhaps going to turn this one around, because here is Akira Ragnas trying to get the damage down on a Lord of the Afterlife. Will be used defensively, but does keep the solo laner alive. Although Alpha Lizard is still looming just to help with this blue buff.
They are, and that was a very aggressive play from Zelda Hyrule right there, opting to go ahead and go on in, but look at this, trying to go around for the blue. Legionnaires get caught out, the Circuit's doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, Deathbane forward, and with the last breath as well, Tomahawk Warrior will go down in quite the explosion as well. And once again, very nicely played by the Circuit as well. Just when you hit those abilities, the Cobra's Kiss, the Deathbane, I believe that might have been all 3 of the different poisons you can apply, and then just eating all of them up with the passive as well. Even the Sobek in the Guardian role with that Guardian scaling just can't really do that much into that amount of damage, not when you just have the Vampiric Shroud as your only item.
Again, it's one of those things where I like the attempt from Legionnaires, but it's just one small thing misstep is they don't have any ward vision around to spot out if Arctic Vice are around. They have no idea where the Circuit is, and this is one of the sort of things that you see a lot in chess. Like, chess computers make their moves by saying, what's the absolute worst move my opponent can make, and what's the best move I can make? You gotta kind of think the same idea. Where's the worst possible position that the Circuit could be if we're going for this? Right next to us. Okay, let's assume she is. How do we deal with that? Do we keep going for this play or not?
Yeah, you definitely have to toe the line, and maybe we can break that down a little bit more, as I am getting a bit of word from production as well. XK is going to eat a few bits of CC, but ultimately swagger on out there. We are going to go to a very short pause. I believe we can still talk about proceedings, as OBS seems to not be cooperating at the moment. So do bear with us for the moment as we go into a little interlude, I suppose should be the right word here. And it's a very rare opportunity to get some considerable downtime to really break things through as well. So I'm going to go over to hand you over to Coach Blair right now, and I wonder if you were in the Discord voice chats for either of these teams, what would you be saying to both of them right now?
At this point, I really like the way that we're seeing Arctic Vice play this comp. They're not overly playing aggressive. They're almost playing reactionary, and it's all coming through on the side of Alpha Lizard, who's now 2-0-0. Both these kind of kills have been reactionary, and it's been Ragnas who's been sort of leading that charge. Let's go for that kill in mid. Turns it around and helps make sure that Iron Force stays alive. They're going for an invade on blue. Okay, well, I'm already over here. Let's just chase them away, and we can get a kill on that. So I really like seeing that. And I like how Alpha's building around this as well. It's not overly aggressive coming through with like a mannequin scepter or anything like that. We're just seeing Eye of the Jungle, which is we want to clear more, and then straight into the look of a Jotun's Wrath. So again, all about the CC, and that's exactly what I love seeing from this Circuit right now.
It does definitely feel like the junglers are truly the impacting role right now in Smite. Probably how it should be, and I think with the Ceaseless Whirlpool patch bans, it's going to be hitting us as much as it's hitting the CC onto Alpha Lizard here, as we already have a fight as he returned back into the game. The Draconic Corruption will be used by this Fafnir, and a great Orb of Discord lands and gets quite a lot of value with the double kill as well. Mid lane rotation, Sats is on the way over, but it might just be a little bit too late. As going to be jumping away is a Recolium, but they find one. It will be a little bit of a shutdown onto Alpha Lizard as well. Get the Scylla back online. Into the Armor Monster they go, maybe wanting to turn it around, but Iron Alloy is like, yeah, nah, I'm not face tanking now. I'm going to walk away. But already 3 more kills, and Arctic Vice continue once again to be making these plays and also getting so much value. That is a very important double kill onto that Discordia.
Very, very nice to see that. And now it brings up this idea of, okay, Saket was leading off the charge now. That's, she got shut down in that last engagement. Looking at the Scylla, missed the madness. It happens sometimes. But now Discordia is also a problem. 2 stacks on that Karen's coin first item coming on through. We don't know what exactly those 2 are as it currently stands, but that's already a great start. It's always one of the scary things going into these items like Hide of the Urchin or Sharon's Coin, where it's like, well, if we don't get any kills, then it's worthless. But now they've got this option. Now we also saw as well a red buff invade straight off of it. Arctic Vice have been not just able to take these fights and go, hey, we won the fight, great. They're transitioning it into something else. Hey, we just took a fight on the left-hand side. What can we get? Can we do the Fury? No, Fury's not up. Scorpion worth it? No. How about a red buff? Sure, let's go for that. I love the fact that they are constantly keeping their head on a swivel here.
And they're definitely looking to play around it and transition as well, as XJ is just dancing around his abilities. Might find himself in a bit of difficulty, but a handy Riptide will throw this Yamoja out. The leap away, and the battle lines are once again drawn here in the mid lane into the mid lane mid-game 3 versus 3, where as a mid lane main, it does become quite, I'm going to say, annoying, as it's like, oh, I guess this is just this is just the lane that I default back to. It is now not my lane. It is the skirmish lane. It is the assault lane in my conquest games. It's PSA, please. It's still my lane. I quite like that farm. But anyway, yes, it's just seeing how teams do transition their advantage here. As we do look to have a little bit of a split of a engage here, as there was a bit of action with Alpha Lizard on the left-hand side, but yes, forcing the Iron Alloy to be taking a trip back to spawn as well, and that does give a little bit of mid-priority to Legionary Cohort here, but with the buffs still not been taken away, they can't really transition that into some of those small incremental gold exchanges, like going for an invade or possibly pivoting towards either neutral objective. But it's something, it's a little less XP for Iron Alloy.
Yeah, and just a little bit less XP for Ragnus as well. I like seeing this. Meanwhile, duo lane. Looks like a 1v1 was going down. Recognition gets the recognition they deserve, and they've got some more members coming over their way. But it looks like they might be out.
There's Elite Four with the ambush, but not going to find it. The River's Rebuke will come crashing down, but it looks like there was just a sliver, a tunnel to victory, to escape rather, and Recognition will complete the great escape. Just does not need the motorbike to get over the fence, but I'm a monster. As Sax is here, the Riptide will dash away from that ability once more. And with this on her, that is what the on her is capable of. If you can land that ability, of course, unfortunately, we don't see the start of that fight over by the Draga objective as well, which I believe might have been taken as well in the midst of that. But hey, it's going to feel good for this on her here, as you can have a little look at the XP difference. You see a little bit of a nose drop down from that small engage, but still in Arctic Vice's ascendancy, shall we say.
It is certainly in their favor, but it's not anything to worry about. Divide all that by 4, it's a 500 gold and XP lead between people. The biggest lead we're seeing right now is solo lane, where Zelda Hyrule is 3 levels up. But as far as I'm concerned, if I'm Tomahawk Warrior, if I can say, hey, this Osiris is 3 levels up, but he's not rotating and I can keep him here. If you can sort of thread that needle, as Tomahawk Warrior, you're fine. If you can keep this Osiris out, then that's great. We have seen some attempts at some invades, and that isn't what Zelda's doing a lot of right now. But whether or not the rest of Legionnaire end up feeling the brunt of this is, at this point, mitigatable right now. The level 13 Osiris isn't a threat to your carries. They aren't a threat to any objectives going on. They're just roaming the map, and be on the lookout for them. And they've kind of had that reasonably warded.
Information is going to be the main part of the game, especially, well, where is the Osiris, and also where isn't the Osiris, to rule out where they also couldn't possibly be. It does work both ways quite well, and it also does play into the draft that Legionary Cohort have been running, is that there is quite a bit of safety in the Arnher, in the Scylla as well. Pugsley, as the Fafnir, has got some quite fantastic peel and also ability to turn and fight around. You know, a very good Hammer Stun, Draconic, a Corruption, that Coerce as well onto your carry. There's a lot of tools to play with here, and it is going to be really interesting to see how this pans out. As you say, that there is a gold lead for Arctic Vice. They're still in control, and I think they are still in the driver's seat. but it is still across the whole board only about 500 gold. That is a very nice Moonstrike stun, but it looks like the unruling magic wasn't there as well. But a few pains for this mid lane as well. Riptide away for the Yamoja once more. A little bit low on the old Omi, so possibly going to be an end to proceedings here in the mid lane. But I'm now looking towards these neutral objectives, and we do have a Gold Fury down and some wards as well, so maybe we're going to be seeing a fight then go to it, or how do you feel this is going to play out, Blair?
I wouldn't mind seeing the option. I thought that when Legionary had Tomahawk Warrior roaming around sort of the backside jungle doing their own sort of invading, I thought they were going to try and transition to mid and see if they can push something going on down there. But like you said, the Gold Fury is now on the table. It was Legionnaires who managed to snag themselves the Scorpion, so a good look for them. I would expect to see, now we're getting towards that point, we saw a little bit of posturing with our 4 people around the Gold Fury, but not too much has come from it. But Pugsley's going to start this one up for now. I think they were just dewarding, by the looks of it, using that bracer to their advantage. But now we've got Saket looking to try and catch them out. We'll put a fair bit of damage into the back of them. And, well, now Legionary cohorts have got to decide how are they going to try and deal with this.
It looks like it's going to be a pretty stand 4 versus 4, and Diligent Jr. is going to be rather diligent on the neutral objective as well. Drivers up, you know that everyone's kind of been distracted by the big old Fury in the Gold Fury pit, so hey, just a little bit more gold, a little bit more XP will be very nice. Just going to be a bit of a concern as to when the call is going to be to get these solo laners involved here, because when we last spoke, it was a 3-level lead, and it still is for Zelda's Hyrule, as that Osiris is level 16, getting some of the items down, the Mystical Mail, the Talisman of a session as well purchased. So here we have the first stage of the dance. It's going to be Legionary Cohort. Starting up the Gold Field, pushing forward. A River's Rebuke as well will be thrown down very early, will dissuade, but it's Fafnir has got a lot of damage thrown down on him and will have to back away. No more frontlining there, as he's got to carry on forward, lurking in the waters. Tomahawk Warrior is there. Diligent finds to pick onto the Erlang Shen. The gank attempt turns and backfires. Here comes Zelda's Hyrule. Going to look for the Judgment Tether, but the Impale will peel away. Blink forward, looking for something, looking for anything. I'm a monster. Gets so much damage on return, and it will be a pick onto Tomahawk Warrior in the end. Abilities thrown all the way, but Arctic Vice still feel they have some momentum here. Top to with the Emoja. They will start this Gold Fury up once more. No, I'm a monster to steal here. We're going back to square one.
Maybe not though. The Crush is still down. Out comes the Golden Apple Discordia. Just 2 trying to keep this busy. It looks like it should go on devices away. We'll be able to grab this for free. And then we'll just disengage. I loved what Legionary started doing, but it kind of fell apart the moment any kind of engage came from Arctic Vice. It's like, all right, we got Umoja ult. What do we do now? Pugsley ends up caught off very deep on their own, using both of their CCs in their Draconic form to try and poke out. They had the 4v5. Tomahawk was there as well. The other big thing as well, Pugsley only had the Thieves. There was no other item for them. When they backed, they had that. They got the full Prid win there. I kind of like the idea of, we've got 5 people, let's group up, let's go for it. But not when your front line can't be that frontliney. And it just kind of all fell apart. Again, it's like this idea. I love the ideas. It's just 1 or 2 small little things. And great play from Arctic Vice. They don't overcommit. Oh my god, there's all 5 of them here. They've got the Draconic Corruption. They're burning the Gold Fury. It's like, let's throw Wizard's Rebuke out, see what we get. Ragnus is running down our carries. Let's just help get them out. Take the kill, reset. Who's in danger? What's the priority? Arctic Vices, again, they're just constantly playing those questions to their head, and they're coming up with answers.
Firstly, playing chess as opposed to checkers, perhaps. Maybe thinking a few more steps ahead here. That's a very nice stun once more onto the backline as Circuit pushes forward, has got the last breath down onto Akira's Ragnar's into the sensory transformations, but Iron Ally is there to finish off the kill. Draconic Corruption down, trying to zone away. You have also got Recognition all on their lonesome, trying to find a flank, but 3 members instantly look their way, and it will dissuade any further push here. Retreating back towards the mid lane, it will only be a pick onto Akira's Erlang Shen for now. But once again, this Erlang Shen, it's been a very rough start. especially after that engage onto Diligent as well, finding themselves 0-4. As it is going to be pretty rough here. The fight continues over towards this Fire Giant pit as well. River's Rebuke will be thrown up, but are any of these members going to be dropping soon?
I don't think they are too tanky at this point in time, and Arctic Vice love these kind of engagements. They keep bringing, they'll extend these engagements out, not only because they're winning them, but they have the healer. They have X9KJ for healing. And anytime you can draw out a long-winded fight and then just keep mounting pressure because you have that additional health coming through constantly, those are the kind of engagements that you want. The fact that Arctic Vice have been so comfortable playing these short, quick, sharp engagements is also fantastic for them because they haven't had to lean back on it. But given the fact that the only anti-heal is on Ragnus, who, let's be honest, has been very handily dealt with, I think is the nice way of saying it.
Yeah.
They don't have to worry about anything. These engagements go from, all right, we can take long drawn out engagements, as I think I'm a Monster was just used in the mid lane.
Just on the horizon, once again around that middle XP as well. Deathbane and the ambush was used, but the underhand tactics disarm will prevent any more poisons being consumed by Alpha Lizard's passive as well. I did quite like seeing that just on the peripheral of our vision as well.
Yep.
Like, is that quite, you know, a big game changing ultimate just being used there? But anyway, it doesn't really result in anything, so to say. And yeah, to go back on to what we talked about, well, I think Akira has been dealt with. This Erlang Shen, there's so much of the early game pressure this Erlang Shen can bring out. The ultimate as well, that taunt can be quite a game changer, but this Erlang Shen just can't really get involved into these fights. It's pretty much a dive and a one-way ticket.
Step aside.
It's a dive without the V for victory, unfortunately, every time it happens. Yeah, you get it? Because, like, dive is D-I-V-E, but, like, if you take out the V for victory, it's D-I-E, and they're 0-4. Come on, that was good. That was good. That was a good one. All right? That was good.
I feel I will golf clap that one.
Fair enough. I will take it.
It's fine, don't worry. We have an entire set in front of us. I'm sure you're going to definitely be getting me with some of them puns later on. Speaking of, dive under the tier 1 tower in the mid lane is Alpha Lizard finding once again a pick onto this Erlang Shen, who still remains even on levels. Lord of the Afterlife pushing forward. The level 20 is there for this Osiris. Zelda's Hyrule pushing now underneath their own mid lane tier 1 tower, and we'll get the first pick onto Pugsley. That's a very nice impale as Recognition ends the fray once more, doing a lot of damage. They will pick up Alpha Lizard. Lurking the waters, Tomahawk Warrior has also been brought in. It's going to be the block backwards, but I think that's going to suit Zelda's Hyrule. Has the Judgment Tether on multiple members. There's the stun, and Diligent is happy to oblige there with this soul, pick up their second of the game. The siege carries on. Zelda's Hyrule does not care for your mid lane tier 1 tower. They will push forward, they will zone away, and once more Arctic Vice find the kills, and they find that objective as well. Possibly even a Pyromancer as well.
Yeah, the Frenzy's popped for it, and no one's around to know that it was popped, so there's still that threat of activation around a Fire Giant. But again, this goes back. Arctic Vice, sure, they trade out what looks like an awkward situation. They get 2 for 1, but because they've got the healer, they can keep aggressing. They come away with the tier 1 tower as well. Legionary Cohorts, again, it's I feel like someone has to say to Akira,
hang on,
just
Fire Giant.
Fire's being picked up. I wonder if Legionary Cohorts are going to have the damage for it. Zelda is here, so the rest of the team knows, but he's getting stunned out.
Yeah, going for the turn and burn. Zelda already falling down to half HP. Pugsley has used the Draconic Corruption as well, but the health bars are way too low as backup arrives for Arctic Vice, and they're looking a lot more healthy and a lot more ready for this fight. X9KJ on the emoji once more, the Mending Waters bouncing these heals between all of their members. And Legionary Cohort, they went for the play. I gotta applaud that one for the attempt, but the problem is it might have backfired in possibly the most spectacular way as this Fire Giant will be started up once more down to half HP. There isn't a Frenzy
Monster.
available, but yes, you still have Armor Monster. You still have the lurking in the waters. They peel away. They want to take the fight. Instead, Rivers Rebuke will split the fight once more. Pugsy will drop for his kind, and Zelda is also going to find one of their own. Recognition falls. Dual Lane is down. They're trying to deal with his front line, but Diligent can free cast. Even 9KJ gets in on the kills. That's 4 for 0, completely unanswered. And now they can finally deal with a Fire Giant, but Zack says, hey, I still exist, TJ. What are you talking about? They will answer with a kill back of their own. 4 versus 1. Zax, now it's time for the hero play. Has the beads from the Cobra's Kiss. Underneath the tier 2 tower they go. But it may have done enough to just delay this Fire Giant because all the members have pulled away.
Arctic, I've been singing your praises this entire game about how well played you've been playing with your head on a swivel, constantly making calls and following with it. And then Diligent's off trying to fight a Scylla, and then everyone else goes to fight the Scylla. There was a Fire Giant! You had a free Fire Giant. If Scylla comes in, then you kill her. Other than that, you don't care. There's fire. I never want to see my carries that far out ahead in front of everyone else, especially trying to take a 1v1 when there's a Fire Giant available. It's, like you said, it's not going to be the end of the world, but Legionaries just got thrown the biggest lifeline. No Fire Giant for Arctic Vice. Instead, they're going to look towards the Primal Fury instead, which, don't get me wrong, will help them get fire, but it's not the fire. And they're popping Frenzy for it as well? I'm not sure.
I mean,
like that one.
They really want their stacking 5% increase on some of these objectives, I must say. As, yeah, I think Primal Fury is... At this point, it's normally like, you know, oh, you get to take the Primal Fury or just gold or whatever it is because it's second prize because the other team got Fire Giant. It's a response here. This isn't... I think Primal as well, of all of the Furies, this is nowhere near second prize. This isn't Bully's special prize either. It's the first tier of some of the prizes. It's like when you're at the carnival, you're throwing the rings onto the ducks and you get the lowest scored duck. That's the prize you get with a Primal Fury.
Yeah, maybe like 50 tickets or something, but those 50 tickets can go towards, you know, some of those other items. You know, you've got the little paddle ball, you know, the ones where it's like the ball on the elastic string, and you sort of whack that backwards and forwards. Those are quite fun. I like those. They were good. What else, Jab? You always had those little like glow stick things.
Yeah, you also have the 3 different types of plushies as well: small, medium, and large. Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 evolutions available to you. Oh, bubble ones as well. I freaking love them.
Oh, bubble wand. Good big bubble wand. You know. You reckon your Mojo actually has a bubble wand? That's how the bouncing bubbles keep coming out so perfectly shaped. Just like she like uses a bubble wand for that. I could see it. We need a bubble wand. What I'm saying is we need a bubble wand skin your Mojo.
Oh, I think, yeah, we need this implied bubble one to actually be recognized into fruition, to be honest.
The
but
recognition's playing on her.
Ah, yes, definitely. As it is going to be an engage way out for Lizard, jumping once more into the backline, looking for a target. They're very low HP and Iron Alloy. With the burst, they get the recognition they deserve from that one, as I will be taking the low-hanging fruit every single time in this set, because it is such a easy one to go for. Diligent finds one onto Akira once more, and Zelda's there as well to find another kill. The unruly magic and all of that. Absolutely beautiful. That does deserve a bit more enthusiastic golf clap there, as that is a full, clean DSI over by the Fire Giant. It will finally be theirs. Probably not as clean as they would have liked, and maybe a bit later than they wanted, but it's finally theirs, and there's a lot of tier 2 towers and phoenixes are just waiting to be sieged.
They certainly are. They already find themselves a 9,000 gold lead, or 12,000 gold lead now, actually, excuse me, that they'll find themselves. But I don't think they need to worry much more about the gold lead. These phoenixes are exposed. This mid phoenix is going to fall for absolute free. Left side is already pushed up to the tier 2 tower. It's only Fafnir and the Honor who can try and do anything, so they don't really have to worry. That phoenix fell. Honestly, I don't even think there was a phoenix there. It was a figment of our imaginations with how quickly it was taken down. And again, I don't want to keep harking on about the the anti-heal. There are 3 bits of anti-heal in this team comp, and look at what Arctic Vice have built. You have a soul with 3 full lifesteal items, and you have no counter anti-heal? You can't be doing that.
Yeah, divine. Let's have a little chalk down of the current anti-heal items. There, you got Divine Ruin. You've also got Sobek with the Sickle Strike for now, and Toxic Blade. There's a Toxic Blade,
and the Cursed Dog.
Yeah. So there is anti-heal there, but I do know what you're getting at. Is like this is.
How are they gonna apply it?
I feel
no one has gotten that close to Soul.
Well, the Scylla did actually manage to get the kill back, but maybe not with the Fire Giant and all of these items. I think one thing that has always been a concern for me when I see Soul as well, maybe from some of the games I've casted recently as well, is just waiting for Soul to hit these item breakpoints. But this is a Soul fully online now, and that is their own beat as well, 6, 2, and 6. Just looking at some of the kill scores as well, I do want to give a big shout out to X9KJ here in terms of just pure kill participation. Been involved in 16 of the 19 kills for this Arctic Vice team as well. Definitely playing around as Yamoja fantastically, and I do appreciate that, as I appreciate all of my supports as well.
You will always, it's one of those things, is you don't ever recognize a good support, but you will recognize a bad support. So we will give them that recognition they are deserving here. As you can
Give
see
them recognition,
right
Sonya, on her.
There we go.
I can
there
do
we
it
go.
too.
See, I knew you were gonna go. We will give them the so just desserts at this point in time as the siege goes down. But I'm not even sure this is gonna be a siege. This just looks like a fight. You know, any last words for Legionnaires?
3, 2, 1, press your relics. That was Blink and a Frenzy, as well as the kills just fall one after the other It's only the 2 carries left alive here in the throne room, but the Titan with that Fire Giant buff, with these builds online, just simply did not stand a chance. Only needed 2 Phoenixes, and they will be taking this first game of this set. So GG, well played to Arctic Vice, as they do close this one out in 28 minutes.
And very, very well done as well. Looking across the board, 3 members, no deaths, and every single member with a positive KDA. That's gotta be feeling good coming off of the game 1, especially with how handedly they controlled this. We were worried about, is this game gonna go super late? Are they gonna be able to deal with it? How do they work? But they just knew how to handle this kind of comp. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. And every single member, aside from the one slight issue they had, with the Fire Giant, every single engagement they had everything pretty much lined up. It was almost as if they had pre-planned the entire game from minute 0.
It does feel like maybe that old trope in some classic TV shows where the villain has planned everything out beforehand and it just falls perfectly. But this time we didn't have the cheesy hero to spot the one chip in the armor to just pull away all of that fantastic plan. But anyway, that was only a first game of this best of 3 set between these 2 teams. We're going to throw it over to the analyst desk to break this one down a little bit further.
Thank you guys on the cast for a wonderful cast there as well. And Guardian, I think we kind of showed a little bit that the early game team kind of owned not just early, but also pretty late into that game too, almost a 30-minute game, and they pretty much had control from start to finish.
Yeah, they started it off really well and they kind of snowballed from there. Probably a bit longer than they would have liked to, getting a bit risky close to that 30-minute mark. But they were able to keep that steady rise going on that entire match, which was very good for them. And Legionnaire Cohort didn't know what to do against that. They didn't know what to build. They didn't know what to do, clearly.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit just maybe that experience as a team that might not be there. I do know that Arctic Vice is a team that's played, I believe, in last season of AGL. I'm not quite sure with Legionnaire Cohort. I do recognize some names, but I'm not sure how they've been playing as a group together. But I think that also played into it as well, because I think we saw the entire game, Legionary Cohort was on the back foot the entire time and really didn't get a pick and engagement. And so because of that, Zax and Recognition on those backline carries that on her and that Scylla pretty much just had to play defensively, which didn't really give him a whole lot of kill potential.
Yeah, definitely. But I feel like one thing that really put Legionnaire Cohort behind was the fact that they really, as we heard Blur and TJ talking about, there was hardly any anti-heal apart from the character's base anti-heal, such as Sobek's base anti-heal and Sobek's base anti-heal. You see what I'm getting at here. There wasn't much anti-heal on Legionnaire Cohort's team apart from Sobek, to be honest with you. And obviously Erlangsen did have Toxic Blade, but apart from that, there wasn't much anti-heal, depending on the fact that Frost Arctic Vice had the Soul with double life, triple life steal, which just didn't do very much.
Yeah, and yeah, a lot of that anti-heal is just not there. I mean, even the Circuit going that serrated had a little bit of lifesteal herself. I believe the Discordia also ended the game with the Sacrificial Shroud, had that soul gem as well. And the thing is, like, you're right, they have a lot of that anti-heal, but it's just so spread out. And when you're not able to pick that engagement and stack it up, 40% isn't bad in a 1v1, but when you're trying to have 4 or 5 people all healing and get a target, it just makes it that much more impossible to keep all of that down. But you're right, yeah, not enough quite anti-heal stack. But with that, then you want to see maybe some more pick oriented to kind of counter this kind of comp going into game 2, or do you think maybe this is something that they can reverse and kind of play for themselves?
Well, see, I think maybe it might not even be a bad idea for them to try and steal some of Arctic Vice's comp because they had a very stable composition. I feel like if you took 1 or 2 pieces away from the puzzle, or it might all come falling down.
Yeah, and a couple of those picks, like specifically that dual lane of Yamoja and Soul, we've seen those bans a lot of times, as well as the Osiris, that maybe not in the healing, but did a great job frontlining this game, getting healed up to just W key and make a mess of these fights. But let's go ahead and hop into these picks and bans of game 2, see if there's any kind of adjustments. I do think there's room, like you mentioned, I'm kind of there where they can not only maybe draft and do some different picks and bands to kind of adjust for that, but also some room where if they wanted to go, hey, let's try that. That worked for you. That can work for us as well. Let's get a hands on that, as it looks like Arctic Vice are keeping that first pick slot as we jump in here to picks and bands.
Yeah, are you expecting any specific bans from last game?
Well, that's the thing right now with picks and bans. You got so many there as far as the top meta. Like, it's really going to be hard, especially coming off a loss where you have the Osiris, Yamoja, Soul that all kind of come through that Circuit, even that we've seen some SPO bans. Really kind of does limit there. And as going along with that, kind of picks and bans are kind of staying the same. Odin again banned by Arctic Vice. Won the first game. Don't need to change too much up. And Legionary Cohort keeping some basics down, get rid of that Artemis.
Yeah, the exact same 3 bans, and they're not really surprising. Although I didn't think we talked about Odin last time and why he's strong, did we?
Yeah, I mean, Odin's got that strong matchup, and especially into gods like Artemis that don't have an escape. That cage with the not very recent, but in the last season or two, change where it now leaving the alt, whether leaping, walking through, will deal you that damage. Does make
And
it very
slowed you.
difficult to try to get through, and just the sustain late game. Put him in a Sundering Axe, a bunch of auras, spam those cooldowns, and he's pretty much impossible to kill and hold down there. But as we get through another bang come through Tiamat, pretty much cookie cutter and Raijin as well. Are we going to see a salty run back for game 2? We might see a salty run back.
I'm waiting for the Gilgamesh ban.
That's true. I believe Gilgamesh ban was that last ban here. I know you want to
Yeah,
see that.
it
I'd
was
love to
for
see that
3.
here in game 2, but that does look interesting, dude. That kind of means that Arctic Vice probably will pick that Osiris first pick again. Does leave that flexibility, like we mentioned, there's that jungle and soul, and they do change up. It's a complete salty run back as they leave the Gilga open, but instead they're gonna ban that Yamoja. And after watching that first game, I do not blame them.
Yeah, Yamoja did a hell of a lot for Arctic last game, and it's not a big surprise, as you just said, that they choose to ban them.
Being able to bring that healing and that sustain to where after these fights they're able to do so much. But with that Arctic Vice, you're gonna hold on to one of those big pieces. That Soul had so many big alts in that Yamoja alt that I saw that were just insta destroyed. Specifically that Erlang on the dive, but also just some of those backline when they got caught out of position. With that though, Legionary Cohort's gonna go, yeah, you're not gonna get all of it back though. We ban the emoji and we're also gonna take that Osiris away.
If the Soul tries to go for a similar build as last time, the Osiris is going to be a key piece to taking her down with the 100% life healing reduction to people hit by his ult.
Yeah, very much. And also, Osiris, whether in that jungle or that solo, does have some good use of that anti-heal tree. I think can use both of those. I like to call them the offensive ones, the Toxic Blade, your Devant, your Brawler's Beat Stick. But he also does really well with those auras as well. Can build into that Tainted Amulet if he wants to, or even go an aura like that Pestilence. We see a lot of them, sometimes that Contagion. But an interesting here, already locking in their mid lane mage, and not the safest of mages, but Legionary is going to grab this Agni. Gertie, what are your thoughts on this Agni? It's not usually a mage we see very often.
Agni is a mage I have very strong feelings about. I feel like if put in the right hands, he can be one of the stronger mages. But it's not just about in the hands he's being put in; it's against the team he's being put against, and against some of the members of Arctic Vice, like Fenrir, he can be quite weak in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Very kind of Agni, kind of that middle of the road, but in those matchups just has so much great poke damage, which can be good around these objectives. But when you've got Gilgamesh Fenrir that can force relics very often and not having that CC immunity, I'm a little worried about this Agni. But on the other side, Arctic Vice somehow this Gilgamesh fourth pick. Legionary Cohort decide that's not something that they want off the bat, which kind of leads me to believe this Osiris will probably be in the jungle. But Gilgamesh Fenrir still has some flexibility there. I love myself some Fenrir support as well as I like playing in the jungle, but same with Gilgamesh, can kind of flex into all three roles besides that carry and mid option.
As a Gilgamesh player, I can say that he is definitely in a weaker spot in the solo lane as he can't abuse Eye of the Jungle as much as he would like to. Although we do see Izanami picked for Legion Co. We did see her banned last game, but this game was seeing a picked by Legionnaire Cohort.
I think Legionari too seems to have a little bit more respect for it, as they were the ones who banned it in game one after picking the on here. But then this game decided that, you know what, rather than ban it, let's just grab it, save us that slot, and we're going to use that themselves. We now have the second phase, and all I'm seeing are supports. Ymir and Ganesha banned away by Legionari, so they definitely know who they have in mind to grab for themselves. But on the other side, Arctic Vice, while maybe not the best pick there. Don't want to deal with it into this comp. Ban away the Fafnir, and I believe that is an Ares ban as well. So 4 Guardians off the board, but both teams seem to kind of have an idea of where they're looking with their supports already then.
Yeah, Fafnir is a great ban by Arctic Vice. Obviously, is an army. She's a very auto attack based god. And that 20 damage his auto attack can add on to her with the extra auto attack rate in the early game could mean an easy first blood, maybe even a 2-minute double kill. But we do see Kefri picks up, and he's quite good right now, in my opinion. He has good speed, he has good CC. What doesn't Kefri have?
Well, I really like this Kepri matchup is most of the time when you think of a counter to Fenrir, you think Geb, he puts the shield, he cleanses them out, they get that extra HP, really kind of makes the Fenrir ult a lot more difficult to use because you have one extra ability you have to play around. But one thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is that Kepri ult as well is a cleanse as well. So that can be used as far as around, big alts like this Gilgamesh ult, like this Fenrir ult, or even just this kind of dive heavy that Arctic Vice has drafted so far and an Agni that does like to build that soul gem, likes to get a little bit of that life steal as well, means that if he gets res out of this after that dive, he's able to heal up, come right back in the fight. So really like seeing that there, but Arctic is kind of waiting here. I'm kind of curious if maybe that was the pick they were looking for, as they were still kind of wondering on their last picks. But as I say, that Heimdall and the Cthulhu, maybe that's why they were so confident in these support bands themselves, is this might look like a support Fenrir.
Yeah, it really could be a support Fenrir because Cthulhu, even though he is a guardian, he is one of the let's say weaker guardians, especially in the support lane, and he is very strong in the solo lane. So it wouldn't be a surprise if we see Gilgamesh jungle. Although I'm not against the Gilgamesh support and a Cthulhu solo.
Yeah, it definitely has some flexibility with these three to kind of move around. Maybe not all three roles for all three picks, but definitely allows them to run a couple different lineups. But I gotta talk about it. It's a pick that started to see resurgent in this Season 8 map. Loki, last pick. I don't know how well, though, it's going to go in this lineup. Sol, Heimdall, they're pretty survivable backline. I don't know who this Loki really looks for as a target.
Yeah, that is something. Heimdall, he is very he all as you've just said, most of Arctic Vice, even the quote unquote squishies of their team, they all are quite tanky for the roles that they play. Gilgamesh, Warrior, Fenrir, one of the tankier assassins, and Cthulhu, obviously a guardian. With
Very much
Heimdall being a
Cthulhu.
hunter, he's on the stronger side defensively and generally damaged. Loki, even with a backstab, might take as much damage as Heimdall if he just throws one basic.
Yeah, well, looks like we got some interesting comps here. Legionnaire got a very interesting kind of pit counter engage comp. Arctic Vice, though, running back the same thing, that team fight, that group fighting there. But we'll see. Is this going to go to a game 3 or is this going to be 2 and done? We'll give it back over to Blur and DJ on the cast.
Oh, thank you so much, King Batu and Guardian. TJ DJ here, Supersonic Blur once again alongside me for game number 2. Yeah, interesting compositions here. I mean, Arctic Vice is a comp that we'd normally see. This isn't like an SPL comp. I could easily see this being brought out in some of the games as well. But Legionary Cohort, what are you making of this?
It's aggressive. It's definitely a lot more aggressive with this kind of comp. They look like they just want to say, right, we're done with this idea of, oh, let's try and skirmish and fight and play a nice slow control game where it's a battle of inches. It's just, all right, Tomahawk, run down the solo lane. Recognition, run down the duo lane. Pugsley, make sure they don't die. Akira, let's pretend last game didn't happen. Let's put you on Loki, blow someone up. This comp just screams, blow people up. And that, hopefully, Legionaries are going to be able to work with that. When we've seen them start grouping up and getting together, there were those sparks of life. And I said the entirety of the last game, they have good concepts of what they want to try and do. It's just one or two small missteps that end up with Arctic Vice being able to punish for it. Now, it's all about that aggression, so a little bit harder to punish, but also a little bit easier to see coming, I would say.
Yeah, and each of these different gods does kind of scream solo carry rank squad. And I don't mean that to try and take away from the composition or the players. Is that each of these gods will be something you see in your ranked game where you see that Loki with like 25,000 stars around their portrait. They get one kill and all of a sudden they have a pentakill at 10 minutes. Game's over. That's it. Done. Same with an Agni as well, as you want to see fireworks, and there's definitely some in the mid lane. It is Akira once again being on the receiving end, just poked out by Iron Alloy and Alpha Lizard. Definitely something that this mid and jungle lane duo, shall I say, are going to probably win out on as well. As if it's going to be playing forward. Oh, I won't think that's called an insect in League of Legends, but thankfully we have the rocket boots to get away. But Akira finds first blood to turn it around once more. Iron Alloy will find a return and kill, but oh, that first blood goal is going to feel so good on this Loki.
And that already feels so much better in this first game. Alpha Lizard, though, really nice recognition of, hey, we can just blink in, cause some trouble. Unfortunately, doesn't quite work out for the solo lane. That's a solo kill. I love the call for not going for the fighter's mask here on the Cthulhu, just saying, I need some form of sustain, or else I'm in a world of pain. I really, really like what we're seeing here. Still Arctic Vice who are up for now, but it's not too bad to see as the Loki Invis is going to chase away the mid lane from Iron Alloy, who's not able to steal away any of those mid camps on the left-hand side. Just beg the question, if the Iron Alloy isn't to steal, then what Iron Alloy is it?
You know what, that is the age-old question, and I'm just completely blanked, to be honest, on my chemistry classes at this point here. It's just like, hang on, wait. Where am I? What am I doing here?
I guess you could say that right now they're feeling a little bit rusty, but as we see on the slow side, a bit more of an engagement going on this side. Arctic Vice still trying to peel and get away. Look how low some of these members are. That was Ragnus leading the charge on that. I love that we're seeing that, not deterred from game one.
Yeah, I mean, you said it right at the start. This is a composition that wants to be aggressive, wants to be in your face. I feel at the point at which they are not being aggressive, not being in your face, not trying to force these fights, is the point that they just going to give up here. I mean, if you're going to go down in a best of 3 as a 2-0, make sure you go down fighting, and that's what this composition just has in buckets. At least there's something to look forward to as well, but some early signs of life, and I am definitely all for it, as well as looks like both of all of the members will be doing their sort of first item resets, trying to see what sorts of builds we're going to be going for. Tier 2 items, but over on the right hand side, it might just be a repeat, it might just be a nightmare once more. That's Zelda's Hyrule's second solo kill of the game. Akira is here, has the vanish, the move speed, and the ultimate ending cast time comes back to haunt Zelda's Hyrule. That is going to be a second kill for Akira, and already vastly improving on their first game overall KDA.
Very, very nice to see. And again, this is Arctic Vice trying to play through what they need to. I wouldn't mind seeing a potential to look over to the solo lane if Tomahawk Warrior is already this far down, or maybe we see Zelda look to do what they did last game, which was just start roaming, start proxying very, very early on. But Cthulhu is definitely a god who wants to be involved early. Once this Mystical Mayo gets finished off, then I think maybe we see like a tier 2 of a magical defense item, and then I want to see them roaming, because if they can start getting further ahead, you mentioned it with Legionnaires and their draft. Their draft is 5 gods who can all individually help carry through a game, and it can be very aggressive, meaning that Arctic Vice kind of might want to look at this and go, if they want to fight, if they want to be aggressive, let's just out manpower them, get that 4v5 scenario going. As again, look at where Legionnaire are finding positioning themselves. They're all around this right hand side. Oh, that's
look, Pugsley is doing their best impression of a juicy worm on a hook here, because Akira is in that vanish invisible, will be pinged out here as well. They fully know that the Loki is here. Dropkick into the wall for that initial CC. There is the burst, another bit of invisibility. That's an assassinate going for this void buff here. Health bar is very low. The Scarab's blessing will save the life of recognition here to get away, and it is overall going to be 1 kill onto the support, and also a void buff stolen away as well to even up the kill feed here. Maybe not going to be the end of it, as Alpha Lizard already is getting right in the face of Sax as well, over towards the Legionnaire's red buff as well. But Pugsley is there, doesn't have Scout's Blessed, but the Hug Bug can definitely be peeling for their carry here, as Iron Alloy is just waiting out for the non-corporeal form just to get away there. It's I don't think the players were not expecting them to go under the tier 1 tower. I don't think we were expecting them to go under the tier 1 tower for that one. So
I thought they need speed, but no, I guess it makes sense. It's sort of that bait them in. Do what your opponent. If your opponent is expecting you to go down, and so aiming for you going down, the safest place for you to go is where they're not aiming, which is up, which is the enemy tower. It's like a 4 billion IQ play that obviously transcends logic.
But it all works out. So #worth in the end. So who are we to judge for that one? I mean, it completely worked, and Iron Ally was able to escape quite a precarious position, may I say, if they were caught out, if that cunning ruse did backfire spectacularly underneath that tower. Hell, if they didn't even have a minion wave in order to not be tanking that tower. Greater Scorpion taken away by Legionary Cohort. Alpha Lizard can only watch as it is taken away from them. So a very early Gold Fury being spawned here, but some very promising signs early on for the team on Chaos side.
It certainly is. Like, even what we're seeing out of the fights, gold is not even, despite the kills being so, despite the solo kills going the way for Arctic Vice. If it's all locked in the solo lane, like I said last game, it doesn't matter if Zelda's got a massive lead and is a problem to deal with, if they aren't making themselves a problem to be dealt with at this point in time.
Ooh.
So we're just going to see this engagement. I believe that's through the realms being used, and Ragnas will end up falling. No Ragnarok, though.
Yeah, and this is going to go back to what King Batu and Guardian were saying on the desk here. This could be a leap forward, as Brutalize will not be following through with that one. Well, I believe that was actually the Ragnarok as well. Beads out by recognition. So very got a very good trigger finger for burning that relic. Did save their life for that one. But anyway, as I was saying, going back to what King Between Guardian was saying on the desk is who is Akira really going to be looking for? Because we just saw Diligent as gave this Loki what for, launched him back through the realms for even attempting to try and take away this void buff. So it feels to me that Legionary Cohorts still have a lot of pieces to work around, shall we say. They have to play around cooldowns, they have to play around bees, they have to play around these ultimates available as well, because otherwise Akira, it's just, this assassinate is going to be once again a one-way trip.
It is, but the other thing to note as well is do keep in mind that the Heimdallr passive means that they will see Loki's invisibility when they come off for the 4 seconds afterwards. So there is no point for Ragnus trying to be sneaky when it comes to fighting this Heimdallr. So see him mid, there's a bit of a scuffle going away, but Sass will be able to peel away, and they will give up the mid camps here in the 3v3. But the question is if, like you said, is how do they work on that? Do they still just go on Diligent? I wouldn't mind seeing the option. There's also as well Iron Alloy, who's a very nice juicy target for them as well. We saw last game just how problematic a soul can be if they get to free cast the whole time. So I would like to see some look towards that, especially with Legionnaires comp. It's very burst heavy, so whoever you go on, as long as everyone's on it, I don't think it necessarily matters too much.
Definitely some avenues to play around and some win conditions as well, but of course it's all well and good to talk about this on paper. It is ultimately how these players pilot their god picks as a Lord of the Afterlife away, but the descent into madness. Zelda's as a rule will simply flex on them for that kill, getting damage down. Third solo kill over on the right hand side, but meanwhile towards the left hand side it is a more honourable 4 versus 4 between these two teams, as the Scarab's Blessing will be forced out to once again get a recognition away. But Diligent is there to take down this Loki, currently 2 for 1 in favour of Arctic Vice here. Over towards that Gold Fury pit. Don't think either team is really confident enough to take that Gold Fury just yet. Perhaps merely the starter for what is to come in the next few minutes.
It certainly is, but gotta give Pugsley the heads up play on there. It was pretty. That looked as if they were just straight up behind. The Loki was straight up behind them. They flicked back around, get the Scarab's Blessing. Unfortunately, great work from Iron Alloy there to just paint that supernova all the way following Pugsley. So nowhere for Ragnus to be able to run at the end of it. One thing I am noticing right now is it's been quite a bit of time. I don't think this Agni has back. They are still just sat on one item, and that's concerning to me. Both these sort of mid laners, they've got to have enough gold in their back pocket to be able to get some good items here, and we haven't seen them back. So they've been a little bit more prioritized with trying to stick with the rest of the team fighting. They got to back and use it. There's no Fafnir on the team, so it's not as if that gold in hand is doing you any favors. Just find a time to back. It's the hardest thing in the world to do with an aggressive comp, but you've got to do it, or else you're just not as useful as you could be.
If I was to borrow the analogy from driving a car, that's you have to change through in order to change through the gears, you have to you have to put down a clutch. You have to have a bit of breathing room, and it is in those opportunities that you need to find.
It's 3K in hand. Go back to base, Agni.
Oh, this is literally driving 30 miles an hour in second gear. Just go up the gear, please.
He's just there maxing out the revs in second gear. It's going the whole way. Please back. You have literally the entire item store at your beck and call, and other wards and everything. What are you going to buy? All right, full Spear of the Magus?
Yeah.
Where are the wards? Not sacks!
Blur. It's fine.
Oh, the joys of these level games you get here sometimes. I wish there were some wards, but hey, I'll take it at the back at this point, as it looks like Arctic Vice are using this time to start up the Gold Fury. Legionnaires are on their way in. They're not giving this up for free.
Pugsley is doing their best to try and be at the front line, but it's going to be engaged from Alpha Lizard, throwing down the winds of Hamash as well, plus the descent into madness through the top of it all as well. Kills flying either way. The Gold Fury was dropped in the middle of that, and I will confess I don't know which way it went, as there were so many medals throwing up as Arctic Vice as thank you, Bluff, for helping a guy out for that one. With the confirmed kill, but oh my word, it's just an explosion over in the Gold Fury. I mean, when you have ultimates like the Descent into Madness, the Winds of Shamash, you've got the Supernova as well. That's a lot of pixels going down all at once in that one Fury as well.
It certainly is. Look what Legionnaires were able to do. They get the 3 for 2 trade out in response because Tomahawk and Aragnas, both of them, target focus, go straight into the back. And Lord of the Afterlife wasn't even used in that situation, and it still ends up working out big for them. Now Tomahawk is keeping busy this Iron Alloy as unfortunately Legionnaires can't get a Pyromancer or such, so we'll have to deal with the consolation prize. This is like the 10 ticket. This is the 10 ticket prize stump. But hey, 10 tickets is something.
10 tickets can be saved up to earn that bubble one, is what I've learned from this set here as well. That is our main takeaway from this one. Don't drive at 30 miles an hour in second gear, and also save up for that bubble one. It may be 50 tickets, but man, it's going to be a lot of fun.
It certainly is. And now you can at least go to the ticket booth and look at it. You know, you can see the prize that you won. And eyes on the prize is what both these two teams have been having here. This is such a better game for Legionnaires at this point. We've had much more cohesive team fights. We've had, well, actually team fights at all, I think is probably most accurate to say. Legionnaires have really been able to keep themselves in it here in this game too. And the way that Ragnas has played this is they've been playing that, okay, I'm going all in on someone, I'm blowing someone up, and it's almost feeling like the old Loki style of trading out 1 for 1, but the amount of damage with AoE means that there's at least someone else low to be able to look for further follow-up, and Tomahawk Warrior has done a reasonably good job of sticking around for that. Now, with Pyromancer spawning, Artico looking to try and pressure out Legionnaires.
Yeah, the wings of Shamash was dropped down, the attention was towards the fleeting member here of Tomahawk of Aragnas, but he's going to eventually get away. But Tomahawk Warrior, the sacrificial lamb, to get that one out as well. Pugsley used that Scarab's Blessing, which has allowed Aragnas to just facilitate what they want to do with the style of play. But the Loki has to die for that one, and we saw Aragnas just run away, meaning that Tomahawk Warrior just was left on their lonesome. Nothing to keep them alive there, and they literally died as well. No chance of a savior as well. Pyromancer going the way of Arctic Vice here, just keeping this game very even as well. And I think after that first game, this is definitely what we needed to see. Legionary Cohort gonna be feeling good. Still only 2 kills down in that deficit, and just a little bit of a gold lead, which has been crawling away from them, but they remain even in how they're playing, and I think that's what we really needed to see in this game too.
They do, and the nice thing is as well as recognition has gone quite quietly and subtly throughout this game. We've not seen that, seen them being the focus in a lot, and it is an army coming towards the later stage with this current bow build that we're seeing so much in the meta. Absolutely shreds, be it player, be it objective, be it structure, whatever it is, they will absolutely shred. And the worst part is Death Draws Nigh gives you extra penetration as you start trying to fight them. So it's not even as if they can be like, oh, just out-tank them for this for this spot. But Vice with 3 members here in mid, looking to try and pick onto Pugsley. Ragnarok comes down. That's all she wrote for that. Iron Alloy picks that one up. I'm very surprised to see that Legionnaires just stick around so heavily there.
Maybe a little bit of that rustiness just still sticking for this one. Ooh, very nice use of the Path of Flames to get out of that drop kick. Most likely going to be certain death. Speaking of, Diligent is incredibly low. Recognition will be getting on the board, saving the life of their jungler. And yeah, definitely, as you were saying earlier, quietly sitting a free one-on-one. Has that Silver Branch completed, and is a Nami has been seeing a little bit of play at the higher levels. I feel just another utilizer of this Silver Branch bow build, and I'm going to be interested to see how many stacks this Izanami can be getting on here. I think some of the highest ones I've seen are probably like 50 in the SPL when all of the planets align, particularly around. But that's more of an Artemis. That's been banned away.
Yeah, I know that it caps at 100, but I don't think we'd be quite so lucky to see something like that. But we will be seeing, though, is Legionnaires looking at this next Fury coming up. It looks like Arctic are aware this is what's going to be happening. It's Alpha Lizard who's there first, but they don't really have much mana to stick around on this. So Legionnaires are kind of just trying to bait members in. Might be starting with this Cthulhu. It's not the best target, but it's something.
Yeah, just both teams just poking each other out here as the Cthulhu does lose about a quarter HP, still has descent into madness. Not going to be too much of a hassle for them as they are just going to heal that back up with the added protections and health from the Cthulhu ultimate as well. So Zelda's Tide is here. I was going to say interesting because Tomahawk Warrior at this point was still over on the right hand side lane. Looks like that lane is going to be I was gonna say, a bit interested to tell lane state. I feel that's going to be pushing into the Legionary Cohort's tier 2 tower eventually, but very slowly. And that means that all members can be over on this left-hand side for the Primal Fire fight. The Maya finds 2 members, and it's the first initial lockdown, but a Rushing Terror. Zelda's Hyrule does get chunks out as recognition. With this build, that was 45 stacks at that point.
Yep.
And that really started to chunk.
This is exactly what I was saying. You can't out-muscle. This is an army at this later as death will draw ever nigher for them. The Cthulhu goes straight on him, blinks in, and is just completely blown up. Strax picks it up, recognition, gets a second, and with the ultimate coming through from the Sky's Blessing, means it's a reset for Tomahawk Warrior.
Oh, just keeping them alive. Alpha Lizard will answer one back, but the planets aligned. That is 1 kill in exchange for 5. That's what we call a deicide here in the battleground of the gods. Legionary Cohort turning it on. I think all of these carries are online as well. Recognition, just free casting on this Cthulhu. Saz as well. Roll of Tahuti, the Spear of the Magus as well, just boosting that damage to ridiculous lengths as well. And Arctic Vice, I think they realized that they were in way too deep when it all started to go Ori, and they had no way back out.
Yeah, especially with the blink in on Zelda right there. If you're gonna do that, you've got to have the rest of your team there, or you've got to be able to back it up with a fair bit of damage. Full defense right now. They are very tanky on paper. Unfortunately, their tankiness resulted be about as effective as paper in that situation. No further follow-up from the team. They blink in, and immediately start backpedaling. So then Legionaries, like you said, just get to free cast the entire time. The love that we're seeing from Ragnus being able to group with them. Pugsley's ultimates have been absolutely phenomenal.
Chef's kiss for that one. Mwah,
absolutely
beautiful.
Phenomenal. Because how do you deal with 3 people who say, or 3 or 4 members on the enemy team that say, hey, I'm going to run at you, and I'm going to do a lot of damage to you. And you're like, all right, I'll damage you back and kill you. Yeah, but for the next 3 seconds, if you kill me, it didn't count. Like, how do you deal with that?
I'm coming back, by the way. I will be back.
Like, did you go ahead and say, all right, let's pop it, so Pugsley's ult goes down, or do you try and ignore it? It's very difficult to try and deal with, as now Legionaries aren't going to get the Pyromancer. It is stolen away. Arctic Vice not happy after the last fight. Let's see if they can turn it around this one.
Oh, definitely looking a lot healthier for this one. Legionary Cohort backing away as Arctic Vice did get that ultimate combination they were looking for, descending into Madness and the winds of Shamash. It will not result in a single kill. Some very low health bars, some resets as well. But it is just going to be that Pyromancer. So options to go back to space. They can just run straight back out here, especially when you're looking towards that Fire Giant. Recognition is alone at this point as Alpha Lizard is gazing longingly as this is an army like, I will dive on you if you step any further forward. But this is what I mean, just get a reset off. Zelda's Hyrule is going to be going into the next stage of their item build, back to full health, back to full mana, and already possibly to impact this upcoming fighters over on the mid lane. There was the Abducts looking for a pick, looking for some form of CC. Doesn't result into much for now, but this is what we're seeing from Legionary Cohort. They are playing their comp to perfection in this mid game right now.
Yeah, and it is very much this sort of like the mid ground of a team fight. You look at Agni. Agni, notoriously a god who has to position very carefully to be super effective. They're not a Thoth who has super long range artillery, but they're not an Ao Kuang who has to get super close. They have to find that balance in the middle ground to be able to get those stuns, get those strong Agni bombs. Like, yeah, you've got a dash to be able to get away, but you'd rather not be using that constantly every engagement. As now we're going to see a step around the Fire Giant. All 5 members on each teams are grouping for it. The Agni does get spotted. Look at the response from Arctic. They just don't want to deal with it right now.
Just keeping together. Safety in numbers as well. And maybe a little bit of a hangover from that fight around the Primal Fury as well. They know what this Legionary Cohort composition is capable of if they get these favorable engages. But for now, Artifice also need to take some solitude in what they can bring to the table as well. That first game was no fluke at all. They have it in their locker as well, was this Fire Giant dance. It's been a little bit difficult by the 2 mid lane tier 1 towers still being standing at this point, but it is just a lot of posturing, much ado about nothing here, as both of these lineups just moving ever so close, inch by inch as well. I think Pugsley was practically overlapping some of these god portraits, but just both teams still poking out. No one wants to be that engaged just yet.
No, but all actives are pretty much coming back online. Pugsley's Bracer will be up shortly, so they maybe wanted to try and set something up around this. But I like what Arctic Vice have done here. Just trying to push away a little bit of that mid lane tier 1.
Look at Alpha.
Like you said, Alpha on the left is spotted out on a ward. So Legionary cohorts are going to have to start disengaging here. No major healing for either of these 2 teams. A little bit of healing, but it's all going now. The descent into madness has started.
The Blink in, the Cthulhu in and amongst all 4 members, but looking for that follow-up. They're currently dealing with Tomahawk Warrior, who just instantly dives into backline of their own. The Agni will find one back. That's a free killing spree for Sax here. They're going to be retreating once more. The Supernova down the middle, but not going to find any knock-up, not going to find any damage. Alpha Lizard's full HP, able to take down their opposite number in the jungle. It is 2 for 1. Only the Heimdallr has fallen. The Legionary Cohort maybe not healthy enough to carry this one off. They want to disengage. But without that Heimdallr, it's only Iron Alloy available. Sax is still looming around on this Agni. Doesn't find a stun, will be leapt on by Alpha Lizard, but the noxious fumes, they last too long, and Alpha Lizard is instantly in their jungle. The Agni with the outplay. Mid lane tier 1 tower goes down, but that's not the consolation you were looking for. Full retreat as members start to flood back onto the board. That's definitely, you gotta feel yourself after that one. That is a huge burst of adrenaline, as it looks like they will take complete attention away from the Fire Giant. There is an Only Fury as well, as I don't think Arctic Vice are even aware of this. Or perhaps they are. They definitely will with the Death Sound going out. They're going to rush down towards this Fire Giant to try and force both of these teams, as Zelda's Hyrule is here. They have the damage, they have the tank, but do they have the guts for it? No, no they don't. Oh no!
I found it interesting. That's rough. Just hey guys, wait for me. Oh guys, help! This yeah, I've been there. Don't worry, I've been there as well. But one thing that is interesting to know is Alpha Lizard, after that skirmish with the Agni, went and decided I need some magical defense. Didn't have any major magical defense, but now with that 4v5 situation, Legionary cohorts more than happy to tank up this Fire Giant and will grab it as well. Zelda, though, was caught in place with the dash, not able to disengage. Will have to run the old-fashioned way. But now as well, with these Oni minions and a Fire Giant in tow, Legionaries, they've got some sieging to do and a lot of towers available to take.
I mean, I'm just looking at this composition in terms of the siege as well. Just the sheer range that you've got, the objective shred as well. This isn't just a solo carrying ranked composition. This is a full-blown sieging composition as well when they get ahead. And Arctic Vice, it feels like they want these 5 versus 5 fights, but Legionary Co are like, right, okay, we'll buy it, sure.
Bet. What a bet! Yeah, they've been playing it really well. It's strange to see as well that after the last major sort of breakout fight, it was Tomahawk Warrior and Ragnus both diving, as I'd want them to do. The problem is that no one else from Legionaries is around to offer any kind of fire over the top, but look at this, is just walking it down
Oh
the mid
my
lane.
word.
Picks up one, gets low in response themselves, but it's Tomahawk and Ragnus in the back. Now Arctic Vice are trying to chase him away.
Oh, there's very low health bar. Zelda's high roll definitely allowed some of this space to chase down this Arkney. That is the shutdown as well. Alpha Lizard will be able to punish with a kill of their own onto Pugsley. No more Scarab's Blessing going to be available for this one. And just as we start praising Legionary Cohort, it's they're the ones who once again just bite off a little bit too much than they can chew. 9KJ jumps in, looking to try and just get a little bit of damage down, not so much a full engage. They burn everything on him, but find themselves at sub 25% HP. And Zell's high roll like, oh, don't mind me. Blink in, press 4. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, and that's what I want my Cthulhu's to do in this sort of situation. It's nice to see the change up with Blood-Soaked Shroud, I believe that it is. So, percent HP back on your abilities when you hit them. And look at this, Arctic Vice aren't going to stop at just one tier 1 tower. They're going to go for another one here. I like this. With double hunters, they can afford to just backdoor these down. And it puts Legionaries on an awkward spot. They're the ones who are supposed to be sieging. They're the ones who have fire. And they're the ones who are getting their towers stripped.
Seems to me that Arctic Vice, they just want to pull this Legionnaire Cohort aside. What they've been doing so well is when they go in, that follow-up damage has just been there consistently. Whether it's from the Arkney, whether it's from recognition, the follow-up is always there. But as Arctic Vice starts to play the map a little bit more, pull away this five-person group that we saw around this Fire Giant pit, taking to a 2v2, a 3v3 or so forth. And also this Legionary Cohort starts to crumble a little bit here as Arctic Vice, they do have a strength in... They're not strength in numbers. I'm trying to think of another way of wording that, but they want to skirmish.
Yeah, I get where you're coming for. It's this sort of off-balance, almost drunken fist style thing of, all right, you've got your game plan, we had ours, you've played it better than we thought you would. Let's see if you can work with a different style. As we see Ragnus pushing up on the left-hand side, is going to pull away Alpha Lizard. Fire Giant not due to spawn for another couple of minutes. As soon as that Fire Giant wears off, then it's a minute left for Legionaries at this point. So it looks like they've sort of stalled this one out. They're not really comfortable pushing too much further, so they're just going to try and make sure that the lanes are at least even. So we are getting towards the point where item builds are finished off. Recognition, full bow build as expected, good chunk of pen, and with that kin size as well, Zelda has no way of being able to just wall them off in any kind of engagement. I'm surprised we haven't seen any percent health damage coming through from Zax, like Theostaff or Soul Reaver. They proc it so well that it would be a very nice boon for them, and keep them a little bit tankier if it was the Ethereal as well.
It's also going to help with 3 members of this Arctic Vice combat. I just want to jump on their face. Perhaps something that I want to be seeing a little bit more from Arctic Vice is...
6 seconds.
Yeah, so is Zax is currently sitting on 5, 2, and 8, topping the damage charts by quite a healthy sum as well. So just been quite, I won't say not so much quietly as some of these rain fires and the stuns and that outplay as well. They're definitely doing it with a bit of style, a bit of pizzazz, but they're finding themselves quite freely able to get this damage down as well. And also for Tomahawk Warrior as well, the Hero's Axe as that level 20 upgrade as well. I mean, if you know you're going to get dived upon, I mean, that shield is going to be huge, especially for the counter engage.
Not even just that, if Tomahawk and Ragnus are both going in together, that Hero's Axe is going on Ragnus. That is essentially a pseudo Kepri ult for Ragnus, a second chance or a Geb shield coming through for them. That's huge. Absolutely brilliant, giving them that extra health, extra protections. If Loki, like I said, isn't trading themselves out 1 for 1, but go in 1.5 or 2 for 1, that's a win in this situation, as now we find ourselves back around the Fire Giant. Teams looking relatively okay with it in terms of builds and items and such. Biggest difference right now is how these team fights end up breaking out. It's whether or not we see Arctic Vice leading this charge, but if they're going to do it, I need to see someone other than just Blink Descent into Madness. There's got to be something else to start this off.
I mean, Alpha Lizard has been looking for these flanks, but not really found a success there. But I mean, that's more on Legionary Cohort for actually spotting out this Gilgamesh and know exactly what Alpha Lizard wants to do. As it's going to be engaged, Legionary Cohort, the ones who want to pull the trigger. The Scarab's Blessing on towards this Loki, and it will be popped. Tomahawk Warrior taking down this Cthulhu as well with the killing blow, but still very deep in. They will be burnt out. Meanwhile, Alpha Lizard was able to pull 4 members away. It is 2 for 1 with Legionary Cohort having that numbers advantage, but gonna feel the more confident. There's a stun no from the support. Brutalize will be following through onto Akira, has that invisibility, but Iron Alloy does not care for that one, but it may not be, it may all be for naught here, as X9KJ will be able to pull away with sub 200 HP off that one, and both teams are just going to full disengage from this one here. As we go back to some more ward clearance, Recognition has to cancel their back, and also Sax is still around. We've already seen 1 versus 1. Is the 2v1 the next follow-up? Probably not for this one. I don't think at this point in the game.
No, I certainly hope not in this instance, but a little trigger happy there from Legionnaire. Uncharacteristically so from Pugsley, pulling that Fire Giant, and everyone else was like, no, we don't, let's just back it up for a sec, let's regroup, let's give ourselves that breathing time, let's, put the clutch in so we can shift gears and go back in, because otherwise they're just going to completely crunch up the gearbox at this point, which is kind of what happened. We saw Ragnus tries to go, all right, let's go in, we're going back in, we're doing fire, we bait him in, we fight him, okay. No one else was in a position to help them, which is, I think, the big turning point. When Legionary have their team for the follow-up, you see how devastating these fights go. When there isn't, and it's these small sort of 1v1 situations, it doesn't always work out in their favor. I think another good example was Tomahawk, who was so deep keeping 3 people busy, whilst the rest of Legionary were dealing with Alpha Lizard. You don't need to go so deep for it. You can just hold position rather than running at them. So Legionary Cohort are in a good position. I wouldn't necessarily say it's pole position, as we just sort of vying between these 2 teams. Gold is pretty much irrelevant. XP is pretty much irrelevant at this state. It just comes down to how the initiation goes here. And the Shamas might be enough to buy them enough time, but Gilgamesh got caught out alone, and that's the best way Legionary could start an engagement.
Picking out Alpha Liz, they know that flank threat has already gone, and you can see Legionary Cohort want to keep this going even with their low health bars. A very nice double stun from this Agni onto the Cthulhu as well. Ragnarok will be holding up the likes of Akira. Ragnus will go down because that Scarab's Blessing was already used. It is, at the end of the day, a trade for junglers. 1 for 1 here, as both teams once again look like they want to commit to some resets. And maybe even a bit of a pause state here as well. Which at this point, you know what? Obviously, I will say this is for DCC. It is on the Agni as well. Sax, unfortunately, DC from that fight. But after that one, maybe just a few seconds to just all right, let's actually think this through, because right now both these teams, it feels like they're just playing bumper cars. They're just hitting each other consistently in this pit, and they're always trading 1 for 1, 2 for 2. No team has got the other out of the ring just yet.
They haven't, but it does mean that you get these occasional little chip bits, the occasional little chinks of wearing it down and seeing how things go. For example, Tomahawk Warrior didn't have a 6th item. They still had Fighter's Mask. Now they've got a full Mantle of Discord. Incredibly difficult to deal with at this point in time is Tomahawk Warriors. And as well, the longer this goes on, yes, the supports will start accruing enough gold to buy out all the items just from sheer gold spooling that exists on the map. But look at this, Recognition going over to the left-hand side. Legionary Cohorts, they just need to play defensive here. Bait Arctic Vice into this full fight. They don't know that there's 1 member missing, and there should be Recognition getting this for free.
Yes, the Zealous Hyrule will be bursting in. The only Fury will be taken, unsurprisingly, due to the lack of the take, but there's the engage. They sense the weakness. They sense blood in the water as Arctic Vice blink forward, pressing the 4 keys. It is turned round. Sax is able to find one of their own. Akira as well, dropping this soul. Both Hunter, both of the mid laners have fallen. Zealous Hyrule finding a stun with the Mansler Discord prop, but it's not going to be enough as they drop down. Legionary Cohort, they were the ones getting engaged one. They were the ones who want to pull away, but they were the ones who won the fight.
They did. Arctic Vice, as soon as that Fury went down, that was Arctic Vice's, not everyone is here. We can fight this. And they dived so deep for it. Pugsley dies with that ultimate. So what? Loki gets the free cast throughout this entire time. Zaz starts off the engagement, picking up huge agony damage with those bombs. Now Legionary Cohorts find themselves a Fire Giant and have another stab here with the looks of these minions pushing down. But there's already multiple members from Arctic Vice falling. Should be a 4th one going here. Recognition picks that one up. That could just be game here. There's still only 6 seconds before the carries come back, but there's mid getting pushed and in trouble. Right side's getting pushed and in trouble. Left side, both these towers are falling down. It's a 10,000 gold lead, but Legionary recognize the carries are up. Don't overextend. Don't want to throw away the potential lead here. Back up, buy up, and set up for the next fight.
At this point here, you're 38 minutes. We are ultimate end game. To go back to the racing analogy we're using, we are definitely on the home stretch here. As one team fight, one pick, one missed position could decide this game, because as we're starting to approach even the 40-minute mark here, those death timers, you saw 9KJ is not even on the battleground yet, still sitting in that death chamber for another 10 seconds. They were out for a whole minute, and that was just a level 18 Fenrir. If you're getting those death timers on a crucial member, on that mid lane, on the Hunter, even on the front line as well for Zelda's Hyrule or Alpha Lizard, it could just be the straw that breaks the camel's back. It could be what is needed to really break into these Phoenixes as well. Legionary Cohorts have taken right-hand side Phoenix, utilizing that enhanced Fire Giant, also taking tier 2 left side as well, grouping up here. Zelda's Hyrule was pushing out right-hand side, dealing with these Fire Warriors. As the Cohort decide to go as a cohort, all 4 members looking for this left-hand side Phoenix, the enhanced damage will do just nicely, and Iron Alloy's just gone. Completely obliterated. Just gone. Vanished.
That's exactly what I want Pugsley to do. Pugsley just stands there, throws out the solar flare, throws out the CC. If anyone's in the way, they go down. Arctic Vice trying to hold on Wasp defense here, but the cohorts are storming through. The base lays in tattered, 1 member remaining. Titan is all that's left. Legionaries bounce back for game 2.
Oh my word! It took 39 minutes of 39. I said, yeah, this was a 40-minute game. I'm just going to go out and round up here as well. Completely back and forth as the Legionary Cohort will drag the Arctic Vice down into an absolute barnstormer of a game. Both of these teams throughout that 40 minutes, it was very difficult, I felt, to really call which team was in the driving seat, as we had Legionary Cohort, whilst they were engaging into a lot of these fights, they still weren't able to find that winning team fight though, and it always able to Arctic Vice always able to find 2 kills back, always able to trade, and then as just went later and later and later, the game was finally going to come to a close there. But wow, what a game!
I think for me, the big thing is who those 2 picks were on. Look at Tomahawk Warriors, look at Ragnus, both of them with 6 kills. Look at Zax and Recognition, 2 kills. Who is the team who's got the highest number of kills in this game? The Agni and this is an army. Both of those 2 got to freecast a lot, and that comes a lot from the damage and dive that Tomahawk and Ragnus were putting out.
Well, as the Dust has got to do plenty more settling after this one, after 40 minutes of being kicking up the whole time. We are going to throw this one over to the analyst desk whilst we take on some fluids. Hashtag stay hydrated. King of 2, Guardian, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here, man, what a barn burner! But I think we got to really start off where they kind of ended off. Agni, 20k more damage than everybody else. We kind of needed to see a little bit more from the backline here for Legionary, and boy, did we see more from him.
we did see we did see a lot from both teams that game, although Legionary Cohort really did bring back that game quite well. Both teams, they were neck and neck that entire time, and yeah, it was very well.
Yeah, a lot of work there. And this is what you want to see in a set, see some back and forth there. But I really like the team comp Legionary had going too. Just that dive. They itemized really well. That Heroes axed out the Loki with that Osiris. That ult by the Kepri early, mid, and late game was seeing some huge revives there after some dives. And just as the dust kind of settled, it was just kind of in favor of Legionary. Just had more tools to help them win and comes up bringing them up to even the series and send us to a game 3.
Yeah, nothing better than a game 3 when it's neck to neck. There's really nothing better. It's not good to see a constant stomp, so it's nice to know.
Yeah, now
I'd
as we kind
say
of wrap up there, seeing some kind of not necessarily bad or off meta picks, but just some kind of niche picks with that Agni and some of the other picks. What do you expect going to game 3? You've had to go one way and the other. Do you think there's anything that's kind of solidified in the set that's banner pick worthy now?
See, I don't think there were really any picks that did a lot for Legionnaire Cohort there. I think they really took that first game, them not being too coordinated, and them just being like, yeah, so we lost that game, we messed, and then they took that energy and they put it all into that next game. They were all working well as a team, and I wouldn't say there was one member of Legionary Cohort or of Arctic that really did a lot. Everyone was doing their job.
Yeah, like they mentioned a little bit there on the cast, a carry role from each position, and they were all able to do that well. But let's go ahead and jump into these game 3 picks and bans, kind of see what we got and who's going to take this set home. But one thing I am interested to see, bans, 5 of the bans in game 1 and game 2. And this Osiris has had a bit of impact on both. I'm curious to see if that lets through again. And I don't know if we'll see that Gilgamesh again, despite playing in the jungle. Didn't have necessarily the best performance, but did have some big ults there in that mid game.
Yeah, there was a lot going on there. But yeah, let's have a look at the bands.
Arctic Vice again looks to be taking that first overall pick as well, so going to keep that from Legionary Cohort. So both seem to be very comfortable with those picks there, but interesting for me personally, if these bands change up, if maybe we get to see some of those mages that have been banned, Raijin, Morgan Le Fay, Tiamat have all been kind of banned out, but as I say that, Morgan Le Fay will be also banned in this third game and will not be seeing this whole set.
Yeah, Morgan Le Fay once again. She is a very strong mage right now. Well, she has been since she's been released, and she's not getting slowed down at all.
Yeah.
Artemis as well. She's another band that we've seen lots of. Is it really necessary for us to go through the reasons why?
Yeah, both of these gods have been banned all 3, so pretty similar bans there. But interesting enough, Arctic Vice themselves now ban the Tiamat. Legionary Cohorts had to ban that the last 2 times, but in response,
Agreed
Legionary
enough.
Cohort bans the Odin. So these 2 teams seem to be very much in agreement in what they don't want to see in this set.
Yeah, they both know what they don't want to play against here. And yeah, we are seeing a Gilgamesh ban from Arctic Vice. It didn't go very well for them last game, and they don't want Legionary Cohort to get it either.
Yeah, Legionary Cohort will finish out with that Yamoja ban, not wanting to have a repeat of game 1, and I don't blame them for that. But with that, Arctic Vice going back to game 1, what worked for them, they end up grabbing this Osiris for themselves.
Yeah, that is a very good pick. They did win that first game when they had that Osiris on their side. And yeah, we will see that again.
It's a great first pick overall, gives you that flexibility again, solo or jungle. We did see it in the solo lane, I believe, both of the last games. So it'll be kind of interesting to see where that comes here. But Legionary Cohort, understand what kind of what worked well for them in game 2. lock in this Izanami first overall.
Yeah, Izanami, see, I did lie a little bit before when I said that, no, no God was doing a lot. But I would say, they were doing quite a lot for that team. Same with Agni, although Agni isn't doing a lot, should I say.
Yeah, and interesting here. We were kind of questioning it the early lock-in last game, especially into Gilga, into Fender, a lot of CCs that can really make the Agni's life very difficult. But in the exchange, after that last game, 48,000 damage in a almost 40-minute game. I don't hate it at all. But, Arctic Vi's going to spike it up, grabbing a little bit from game 1 and 2 as they take the Loki away and take the Fafnir to round out their top 3 right now, which kind of solidifies these 3 roles for me.
That is quite a big play. Them kind of being like, okay, so they've picked up an Izanami. Fafnir goes well with Izanami. We can't ban yet. Let's just take them. And we knew that they did like Loki, or Legionary cohort did like Loki, and they've took that away from them too. So they're really just playing to their advantage here of having first pick.
And with that as well, just with that Fafnir coerce getting that extra damage, kind of that auto attack focus. Loki very much with that passive focused around those auto attacks, and Osiris a lot of those auto cancels with that spammy ability. So already, without even your hunter or your mid lane pseudo mage hunter, I just lost my train of thought. There's a Kumbhakarna locked in, Guardian. What are your thoughts on Kumbha in this season of Smite?
I he's had a pretty good kind of like career Kumbhakarna has. He's always been pretty good, but I might eat my words here. I don't see much of him, and the times I have seen him, he hasn't been too hot. He's been kind of falling off a bit lately, and other supports have really been taking that high rise.
Yeah, not really there, but looking at the lineup, I honestly think some decent matchups here. Loki invises around that Mez can be very strong, as well as around the Osiris. Both characters that like to stick on you, kind of have a little bit more of elongated fight of their DPS. So not a bad matchup there. Plus, great initiation. I think Kumba has some of the best initiation of any Guardian, able to just blink Mez, pick out your target, uppercut them up into the atmosphere, and really set up your team. But these final bans are all popping through really quick. What Raijin, who slipped through the first picks and bans, was banned here, as well as the Soul from Legionary Cohort. So we will see something else there. But Arctic Vice, not wanting the Circuit to fall to the other team and not give him this Collie that we saw banned game 1, leads to this Cullen pick, presumably for the solo lane for Legionary.
Yeah, this is gonna be a difficult game for Arctic Vice. Kukulin, he is very he he used to be very good. He's had a bit of a fall off lately, but he is once again gonna start coming back on the rise, especially with healing being very good in the solo lane and Kukulin having a built-in anti-heal in his kit.
Yeah, and of course that vent rage in that, of course, in that rage transformation, but also just in the regular, very good at catching out this Loki. Make sure that this Fafnir or Cyrus aren't going to be able to blink as much on this nation and have to use some of that mobility to kind of get in there, which is good. But Arctic Vibe kind of picking a safer backline, understanding that this Kumba Kakulin are very dive centered frontline. Go with the very safe backline picks of the Rama and the Giannis, and honestly, overall draft, I still see the same thing before. Team fight dive is what Arctic Vice is screaming to me.
Yeah, that is honestly, yeah. This is going to be very good for both teams here. I'm seeing quite a lot of play potential from both. Although Sasano, I'm not a big fan of him. I'm not sure about
Yeah,
you.
yeah, interesting pick here. Does like to get up and close. I do like that it has a nice team fight alt, especially when you have this Fafnir that kind of makes these objective burn comps very more viable and a lot more centric around those objectives. But one thing for me that I'd really kind of stand out that this Kumba for Legionary Cohorts really needs to come up big. Has some huge potential. Fafnir, Loki, Osiris, all that want to be right in your face. This Giannis and Rama that you can very easily catch out. But Kumba by himself isn't necessarily the tankiest of Guardians off the bat, likes to play aggressive, likes to use that mobility aggressively. So I think it's really going to revolve around this Kumba, not just in the early game, but through the whole game.
He could almost be used as a self bait with how long it takes to kill him in his passive. I think it's like, I want to say 9 autos at the end of the match. So even if he gets killed while strolling by himself, he can just spam help, help, and by the time he's dead, all of his team they're fighting the people that killed him.
Well, with no more, we won't keep here and get you on your feet for this game 3. TJ, Supersonic Blur, Kumba and all. Tell us about this third game coming up.
Thank you so much, you two. And with a best of 3, when we have one winner's side, we get this deciding game, the final matchup between these two teams. As there can only be one winner, and it already feels like both me and Supersonic Blur, we've been put through the ringer with this one. Both games going to past the 30-minute mark as well. And looking at this composition as well, looks like both teams want to go for a little bit of game 1 and a little bit of game 2 as well.
And I like seeing this. Zelda goes back onto the Osiris, take it away from Tomahawk Warrior. We know that they can be very aggressive with it, so Tomahawk Warrior says, okay, I can't afford to sit back and play a Guardian. I need to play something aggressive. Goes to the Fuchsia lane, another fantastically strong, aggressive kind of warrior look. Alpha Lizard says, Ragnus really played well on the Loki. Let's not give them that. We saw a big match difference now. Iron Alloy coming through with the Janus, pushing members around. That mobility, so impactful we've seen at higher levels of play, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it gets used here. Arctic Vice have always made solid calls, and they've always played those calls as a team. Now you have the option of saying, we're on the left side of the map, bam, now we're over in mid lane, bam, now we're over in the right lane. This is something that I think Arctic Vice can play around with and abuse phenomenally.
Yeah, definitely working with what went so well in game number 1, particularly if they get the snowball rolling as well, which we did see early on in that first game. But for Legionary Cohorts, seeing this Agni once again, seeing Izanami as well, definitely. I was going to say Thorns in the side of Arctic Vice, but I want to upgrade that completely to daggers at this point. He upgraded the Thorns. oh my word, those were the days when people actually built Thorns.
Hey, we saw it last game.
Yeah, but back when it was near enough, just instantly like, yeah, this is just the relic of choice in 9 times out of 10. Back when you had like Hide of the Nubian Lion, for instance, had the reflect damage on. Particularly if you're playing Kazembo as well, just to really annoy any of these hunters. But anyway, lamenting about days gone by, but Spice in a very different place. The meta has definitely changed, but something that does not change at all is Zelda's High Rule. That is a solo kill once more. I want to say their 4th of this set over Tomahawk Warrior, and they will be picking up first blood once again, as this was the quickest one. Not seen one before 1 minute, as already back towards the mid lane we go. Alpha Lizard is here, wanting to recreate some of the magic that Akira Ragnus was able to bring up last game, but nope, we got some camps to take instead.
I like this call here, but Arctic Vice, Zelda has had a phenomenal situation this entire set. Like, that's the one thing that has been consistent throughout all 3 games. Arctic Vice know that they can just lean on the solo lane to play it out well, and now that pressure of first blood is gone, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more aggression here in the mid lane. That's exactly what we're going to see. Dashes on in, stuns coming through, maybe a kill, and it is going to be a kill, but it's Ragnus who finds it.
Yeah, it looks like Iron Alloy is wanting to find a return kill, but a welcome portal drop down. It's going to be the demise of Iron Alloy instead, as Sax is happy to take that one. 2 kills over in the mid lane 2 versus 2. Definitely over for that one. Legionary Cohort, certainly the happier of both these ones, but no, Tomahawk Warrior Has still got to deal with Zelda's Hyrule, a second solo kill, 2-level advantage, going to be hitting that ultimate soon. As Zax is going to be rotating over, maybe just to secure this blue buff, as the emergency, I need to help out my solo laner. It has been a torrid start for this Kukulin, and it's only 2 minutes and 20 seconds in at the time of that last death. There's still opportunities. As over on the left-hand side, there's Kumrakana able to land that groggy strike lockdown, but a simple dodge roll away will suffice for now.
It will, and duo lane being the most quiet lane, I think is a nice, refreshing change of things, given the last 2 games how important that lane has been. But I do agree that Zelda's is just running down at members. Look, this is level 5 to level 2.
Oh
That's
my
disgusting.
word! The
There's a
Spirit Flail
3-level
took a
lead.
third of his health.
There's a 3, like, I totally believe that, you know, like 3-level leads are important. But when it's the difference between I have 4 abilities to use and I have 2 abilities to use, one of those abilities being my ultimate, you kind of need a help there. But Zelda now trying to just pressure out. They could honestly, just zone at this point in time. They don't have any sustain available anymore. The multi-potions are done. But they could just zone Tomahawk Warrior out of this farm. They could go start rotating. Like, honestly, at this point, start roaming. I want to see Zelda make a level 5 roam here.
You go for the blink pull as well, but it's going to be dodge rolled away to safety, and a gank does go a little bit awry. Janus is rotating over, has used the free space in time to go over a little bit quickly on Stable Vortex on multiple members. A flurry of daggers from Alpha Lizard looking for a kill, and they will find it. Next target is going to be this Agni leaping into the back line with the red carpet behind them. But that's not where the kill ended up going. Zelda's Hyrule 3-0-0. I feel out of respect for Tomahawk Warrior. I don't think I really want to go further into what's happening on this right hand side, as they just need only look at the kills.
This is just playing the lead perfectly and exactly how you need to in that instance. But we did see an aggressive look. Loki goes for the ultimate. But Zax there. Do keep in mind the Loki stun doesn't come out till the daggers come out. So the teleport and then the stun happens. So no such luck for the Loki. Alpha Lizard will have to wait on that now. But again, we've seen a lot of this time where members have been sort of a lot of fighting, a lot of skirmishing. But now that Janus ult, if Legionary want to try and take an engagement, they have to do it on a time limit, or else Arctic Vice will outman them.
It's a pick that honestly I think Arctic Vice are going to be kicking themselves of being able to secure, because as we've seen from game 1, this is already feeling like game 1 and what happened when that ball started to roll. Legionarii Cohort only able to pick up 5 kills. Even though that game went on past the 25-minute mark, they still weren't able to really contest in a lot of these situations. And right now, there's a very real danger of this becoming a repeat in that regard. And this is because there's always 2 ways of looking at it. You can always look at Legionary Cohort being the ones fumbling, being the ones making a mistake, or it's Arctic Vice, as you say, much like with Zelda's Hyrule, take that and apply it to the whole map. They have a lead, they have an advantage, and my word, they are pushing it very well.
Yeah. It's one thing to make a mistake, it is another thing to be punished for it. And it's one thing to have a lead, it's another thing to play that lead. And Arctic Vice have done a reasonable job at finding how they want to play this, how they've got their lead. Solo lane, they don't have to consider looking at solo lane ever. Now they can just look at the other side of the map and say, right, let's fight over here. Because if you want to try and help Tomahawk Warrior, you're now going to have trouble over in the duo lane. And the last thing you want is a fed Ram.
Especially with that bow build as well. I mean, we're back to the days of Ram being back in the meta as well, up there with the Artemis. So just these attack speed users in general. But yeah, I completely agree with you that Alpha Liz is like, yeah, don't need to worry about Solane. I need to worry about this Agni. Now, we can't let this Agni go 10-2 and drop 40k damage again. We can't let recognition go completely unaccounted for. So I think Zelda's Hyrule done their job fantastic well. And also, a lot of these fights, especially when fights around Gold Fury, normally come down to which team has unlocked that solo lane first. Zelda's Hyrule has already done it, and we're not even got a Gold Fury down on the battleground just yet. So there's definitely a lot of avenues and a lot of routes that Arctic Vice can take in this fight. It's just, you know, which one do they ultimately decide to go down?
Yeah, I do think, though, that I want to see if they do want to try and keep this pressure going. At this point, I'd said it game 1, I'll say it game 2, I'm going to say it again in game 3. Zelda's Hyrule rotating here would be phenomenally strong for them. They could blink, they could be ult, they're level 10. The only one who can test that is the Agni at this point in time. With this finished Rod of Tahuti, there's a lot of damage available to them. So try and find some way to underpin that. Yes, you give Tomahawk Warrior a way to get in, but if that enables you to go and start looking at the Gold Fury, the Pyromancer, some of these tier 1 towers, it's worth it to let Tomahawk Warrior get that little bit of a lead, because the team lead that you'll get as a whole, the map pressure as a whole, will be far more valuable.
Oh, just forcing out the beads there as well. Very nice play by Pugs. Layers the Kun Rakana does rotate over. That's a blink. That's a siphon. Pull back onto Alpha Lizard into the Flurry of Blaze. They go just to get away. Typhoon finds one, but is not going to result in a kill. Draconic Corruption back in the mid lane. Finds the first stun. Finds a disengage. But Epic Uppercut will launch the Dragon. Notta is unfortunately a flightless Dragon. This one straight back down. But here is rotation as Zelda's Hyrule Laws of the Afterlife onto this Agni, but does not find the kill. The rotation doesn't amount to much, but I think more as a warning shot. I want to see is that.
Yes, and I think that that's one of the things Arctic Vice, that's a very rare instance where we've seen Arctic Vice not all being able to follow through with what was looking at there. And I think Zelda may have expected the ult damage was going to be enough, didn't want to throw their lead by rotating and then dying on it. That would be the worst possible thing, especially to the Agni, who is keeping reasonable parity to them. So I respect the call of like, all right, I'm going to rotate, I'll throw my ult. I'm not going to stick around under the tower too long. I can't afford to lose that and then make a wasted rotation. But I like the fact that we did see that rotation. I like the fact that it was onto the key target there. It was the Agni. Agni now without beads, no CC immunity, has to be very, very careful here.
Especially if Zelda's Hyrule is more than willing to rotate over. But it is a double-edged sword, as you say, because at 3-0-0, that is a shutdown onto...
It's a big shutdown.
Whoever on Legionary Cohort is able to... I mean, Zelda's Hyrule, you know, especially in that game 2, there were some engages that on this Cthulhu that... well, I mean, granted, they were dealing with a full build, Izanami and Agni just freecasting on them, but their willingness to go in, much like Alpha Lizard, the Assassinate over the wall, looking for this level 11 Agni, and they will find it through space and time. Also used complete overkill, but overkill sometimes is the best kill. Rotation from Pugsley is here, but is not in time to save the mid laner for Legionary Cohorts.
And I like that. It's better to overkill than underkill. You underkill, oh good, we got a TKO. We can't do anything. Now you get the kill. You've got the bonus gold on that side of things. It keeps the Agni in trouble. And like we said, the beads are down. They've got to be the focus of the target at this point in time. It's Tomahawk Warrior right now, doing a little bit of proxy farming. I like this call, but only 2 levels down into this fight. Can't really look to keep this boxing fight going. There's a full item difference between these two, and Zelda will just be able to rule that one down.
I suppose at this point when you're 0-4, you're not really worth that much gold and XP anyway. You're basically an extra minion.
It's making a statement.
This is personal. This is like making a statement here. It's like, yes, you have gotten the better of me in this lane, but I'm still going to proxy farm. I need to get back into this fight, and if it means that, you know, I'm not going to be able to rotate at 10 minutes. I'm not going to be able to rotate at 15 minutes. Come 20, 22 minutes, okay, I'm going to be feeling a little bit better. Fight over here on left-hand side. Underhand tactics gets that first disengage. Up, disarm Brava. Up until the snipe. Not going to find a Draconic Corruption. Arctic Vice might want to keep this one going, but Pugsley is there like, hey, Fafnir, remember what happened last time? I still have my epic uppercuts to dissuade that.
That one might be a little bit too much going overboard for it in this instance, especially diving so deep. You got this. That's one of those times where you do have to cut your loss. I know it feels very sort of hypocritical, like, oh, it's better to overkill than underkill. But there's a difference between getting a kill that you definitely can get and overreaching to try and get a kill that you could get that could cause some trouble for you. But Legionari seem to be very consistent at doing this. They're the first ones to look and try and pull an objective. They've got 4 members around on this side. It's not the same can be said for Arctic Vice, but Loki goes in on the back.
It'll be very low, and it's stolen away, probably by this Loki, but the fight will continue afterwards as Sax is able to take down the Loki, but a steal on the Gold Fury. The blinking, oh, that is worth it every day of the week, as Arctic Vice will be very happy with that one, not wanting Legionary Cohort to get any further away, but they want to engage here in mid lane as Sass is doing the best to ignore the presence of this Fafnir, just dodging around these hammers. And he's a very low on Iron Alloy, has to be careful as we have seen Sax has been playing this Agony very well, so you wouldn't discount them using that free, throwing down the red carpet, launching forward and looking for that killing blow. Even with yeah, even with XK9 just breathing down their neck at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we look at what we've seen. We've seen twice now. We've seen this Agni Dash going straight forward into Iron Alloy. First time forcing the beads, second time beads were down, so trying to be just more aggressive on this side. But like you said, it's something that was more a case of them trying to ignore someone else, and you can't necessarily always get away with that. It's now 3 members over this side. That epic uppercut has bought a lot of time for Arctic Vice. Not the best call in the situation. Legionary Cohorts will have to disengage on this one, but they're not going to get the chance to.
The through space and time, though, it did hit onto Akira by the looks of things, but not at that point. The through space and time, I believe it still has the increased damage the further the distance it travels, so probably not a point blank through space and time. It's still a fair amount of damage. You can see the health that Akira was left on, but had that been a little bit further away, had the scaling been allowed to ramp up, then maybe that could be a very dead Susano. But once again, Iron Alloy just playing this Janus pick, just if anything, just to equalize at this point. Not finding the kills just yet, 0-1 and 2, but just their presence alone has been enough to maybe dissuade any further fighting from this Legionary Cohort team.
It has, and I like what we're seeing out of the build diversity here. Pugsley wants to go ahead and get that Prid win. More CDR means more abilities. More abilities means more peel. I love it. Whereas you look at what X9 is doing, they're going for this, I need to be an Orable. I want to be around my team. I need to help them. In this instance, Ragnus and Tomahawk Warrior last game were constantly diving into the backline and constantly causing problems. Both on physicals. All right, let's get you guys a bunch of extra physical protections. Let's get you guys a bunch of HP 5. This will help keep you all alive. I really like this difference. If we see like a Shogun's Kusari come out for X9 at this point, I'm in love with the build.
And it's also going to work fantastically while we get into these team fights with all those auras, the Draconic Corruption, just enhancing those already very strong abilities like that Coerce now into an AoE Coerce. With all of these auras on top as well, this Fafnir is going to be getting a lot of hidden value, but we're definitely going to be feeling it.
Oh, they certainly will at this point. As Arctic Vice, we can see Diligent here is opting for a lot heavier investment into the crit. And we were talking a little bit before we went on broadcast about this idea of Rage, Wind Demon build, and how you can sometimes feel a little dead in the water until you get those online. But Diligent is 1-0-0. They're in a totally fine situation. They've got the crit online. Now they just need some kills to happen around their vicinity, and they can really start ramping this up.
But on the opposite side as well, Recognition is foregoing a crit item just yet, wanting to pick up that early Silver Branch bow, just in case. My mathematics say that Izami should be able to overcap that attack speed when they proc it, but not really... Not so much to really start utilizing the build, but since they picked up quite early, that any subsequent items are going to naturally proc it very easily as well. But just wanted to take that Silver Branch with the Odysseus bow as well. So if they do emerge into these team fights, recognition is just hold left click and just try and bounce as much as you can. As there is going to be an assassination attempt onto this. Agni has burned the beads already with the firewalk as well to get away through space and time. Did go wide. As it is 2 ultimates burned in the mid lane. As it's only responded with the epic uppercuts by Pugsley as well. Has the groggy strike looking for Alloy here as well. Good body blocks. He's stuck in between with the yawn as well. Just turns towards the Janus. Doesn't have the cooldowns. Doesn't have the portal available. And Akira will find that kill. A flurry of daggers though will respond with the killing blow going towards X9KJ, but you know what? Revenge has been given. Very low health bars, having to retreat here. But Alpha Lizard is now full HP, full mana, over from the left-hand shoulder, from the side, from the different postcode. The Astral Barrage getting involved, 1-0-1, and 1 more stack on that Rage. Fight continues. Tomahawk Warrior looking to just keep on X9J, but not going to be finding that kill. 3-for-1 in favor of Arctic Vice from that team fight in the middle lane. Not able to translate that into a neutral objective, but it's certainly going to go a long way with this golden experience lead. They have been building quite nicely.
And that was a really nice fight from Arctic Vice. A lot of commitment in to get Iron Alloy, and credit where credit's due, Legionary do manage to pick that up. But they invest so much in on it, and as they're moving further and further into Arctic Vice's territory, it just becomes more and more of an advantage for them as they try and leave. We saw Zelda Hyrule barely have to even make a rotation to become a big problem in the engagements, gets the 2-man Lord of the Afterlife. Ram casually saunters in towards mid lane. Oh, hey, what's that? You guys are fighting. Let me just throw out the ultimate available for them. Gets their first stack on that Rage, which is going to do a lot for them. And now dominance in hand. That's that penetration that they desperately needed coming to fruition
as well on this patch. Down to 15% additional penetration as well. So going to be shredding through the likes of this Kakulan, and also for Pugsley as well, who is going to be building quite defensively as well. Full defense of Tomahawk Warrior as well, apart from that mask and the axe as well. It's going to be left-hand side. That is a lot of CC, and that is a lot of, a whole lot of no health bars. So either as Akira just vanishes off the battleground into the Draconic Corruption, we go Alpha Lizard, able to find one, but Sax responds onto this Ram of bit of revenge here, but Zelda's Hyrule is here and making their presence known. 7-0-1. Another kill in that fight. It's only Pugsley, the last one alive. All of that for a Primal Fury. Well, Arctic Vice are going to take 4 kills and a Primal Fury.
Great work coming out from Arctic. You can see how Zelda's now been such a problem. They were standing there tanking multiple members, so much CC coming through, and they barely took a dent to their health bar in that response. So great work. But then we also saw the double-edged sword of Agni there. You've got to be reasonably close to try and set up a lot of your damage, which oftentimes means you're not over a wall. We saw him able to trade out with Diligent, but he put out all the Agni bombs. The Draconic Corruption comes through, mitigating most of it. And then you're just left trying to use your Flame Wave and hope for the best. So really great work from Arctic Vice. And now these multiple threats are causing problems. Last game, Akira Ragnas was able to cause so many problems with the Loki. Now Alpha Lizard's doing the exact same thing. Very similar looking builds. Really good burst coming out of it. And then just enough to survive going through the rest of it.
Yeah, I think in that last fight, it was actually the Assassinate from Alpha Lizard, which started that whole engage off. Just the multiple stun. I want to say that was maybe 3 members hit by that Assassinate, and Iron Alloy was just there ready and waiting with the free space and time. I mean, for a mid laner, that's like, you know, Windfire Wheels of a Nejar into a Ra. That's just classic setup. And as soon as you know, like, Alpha is like, right, I'm going in, and Iron Alloy is just, I have a feeling they are immediately aiming their ultimate as well, because they know that even if Alpha Lizard just hits 1 member, we've already seen that combo work fantastically. So it is just
Plus
removing
it works,
one.
yeah. Yeah, plus it works on the opposite side of things. Hey, you're going in, here's through space and time. If I hit someone and you kill them, great. But it also works from, oh, they've disengaged, you can keep going. Oh, they're absolutely chunking you down, here's a portal to get out. It works on so many levels for this, and the fact that the rest of Arctic Vice know what their role is, who they're going on, who do they need to focus, and how quickly they can burn them is so instrumental in how well they're playing in this game. They're almost 3 times the kills of Legionaries and finding themselves almost at that 10,000 gold lead. And 10,000 gold, not only is 10,000 a nice round number, but it's when things go from difficult to deal with to we cannot stop any advancements that they make. They have to mess up and we have to be able to punish on it multiple times to get back to parity as Pyromancer goes down for free. Everyone's starting to rotate here, but I think Vice aren't going to let off the gas pedal.
No, Pugsley just caught between 2 members, body blocked into the wall. It's what they use to get Iron Alloy down, but maybe a taste of their own medicine. They were stuck there without anyone to save them. Fire Giant started by 2 members, and Zelda's High Roll is on zoning duty. Has got a Judgment Terror, will land onto 2 people. Will it result in a stun? No, both run away, but the job has already been done. That is a Fire Giant as Alpha looking for this pick in the mid lane, but Diligence there for the assist. You know what, Slash? I'll just take the kill on myself. The Astral Barrage from that Fire Giant pit straight into mid lane. Now the ball's rolling. Now we're really cooking as Arctic Vice look to take over this map.
And unlike Sisyphus pushing that boulder up only for it to fall back down, I don't think it's falling back down because I don't see how Legionaries are able to stop what's going on in this instance. Everyone is down pretty bad in comparison to their lane opponent. The only one who's ahead is the Agni, who for the next 26 seconds doesn't matter in this result. Tier 2 tower in mid gone. Tier 2 tower in right side falls almost as effortlessly. And it's on Legionari to try and deal with this. But that gold lead has exploded to 14,000. We take a quick peek at the graphs there. I want to see where that 4,000 suddenly rockets in from around that Fire Giant. Yeah, just look at that.
Oh, there we go. Pretty much on an exponential rise at this point, and as you said just moments ago, that a difference between a 10k gold lead and something like a 4k or a 3k was obviously much bigger number, double. But what it actually means in terms of item builds, about 3k you've maybe got a tier 1 item, maybe just a little bit further into the build path for tier 1, tier 2s. But now we're at 14k, we're talking whole items ahead, we're talking elixirs ahead as well. And also with the Fire Giant, whilst we get a nice bit of global gold, just the amount of stats that you're able to get from this Fire Giant is an additional amount of gold on top.
Yeah, I think it's sort of been spitballed out about a 5k worth is a Fire Giant with the sustain, the damage on everyone. So you call out about 1,000, 1,000 gold, maybe like a tier 1 item and some potions and stuff. But you've got that on top of this. You're looking at a hypothetical 20,000 gold lead. Now there's also as well the tier 1 and tier 2s falling down for an extra 2,000. There's an extra 5,000 gold that's just sunk out of nowhere. So yeah, it isn't without the realms of possibility to say this is nearly a 24,000 gold lead appearing. Oh, now Primal Fury just to round it off as well. But I just want to, while we're talking on some of this stuff, I absolutely love Diligent's build design here. They don't have to worry about being super, super sustainy. They're not getting focused at all in any situation. So they've just opted for pen, and a little bit of crit if they need to. This pen means Astral Barrage hits hard and hits anyone hard. I absolutely love this kind of build path here. And it's going to help when it comes to these Phoenix Sieges because that pen will still make an impact here.
It is a very nice pivot, and it does feel like with the standard build Rage and Deathbringer as well, it's for like from I am the win con at this point. But speaking of, going to be a blink forward here by Zelda's High Roll, the Judgment Terror onto multiple members, and that just zones them away from a Phoenix as that just crumbles like paper. The Typhoon is nice, but Diligent's arrows are even nicer as the jungler takes a one-way trip back to the throne room, but the fight continues, still groups up by 4 members. That's a nice stun bomb, this Agni, but the follow-up damage is not there. And I don't think it's because it's not there, it's just not enough. Arctic Vice are just too far ahead, and they can just brute force their way into the throne room if they wish, but no, We're doing the completionist run. We want all 3 Phoenixes. We want all the towers. We want one of every objective. Okay, maybe not one of every objective, as we still did take it only. It's an 80% completion run, as looks like they are going to back away from this one. They've taken all 3 Phoenixes, maybe spend a bit of that gold in hands just to complete a few of these little items. They still got the tier 1 item for this Fafnir. Maybe go to Spear of Desolation, I think this might be. So building that one, you have got the Lost as the item name doesn't escape me, but it's Lost Artifact. It's a tier 2 item. So maybe a few bits here and there. Also some elixirs of power to complete as well. So Arctic Vice, they want to go back, want to play a little bit safe, and then really go for the jugular next time.
Yeah, when you've got these 3 Furies down, or 3 Phoenixes down, you can opt to give yourself a little bit of breathing room. There's another Fire Giant coming up. There's no way that Legionary cohorts can defend this. You need 1 member in all 3 of these lanes trying to clear these minions and pushing up as hard as you can. If you're now trying to say that one of those 3 people is now trying to defend Fire Giant, you just wait it out. You say, all right, we'll sit here at Fire Giant, because that mounting pressure is really, it's just going to choke them out. Legionaries cannot afford to let these minions come in. They have the writing on the wall, as it were. Like, it's very, very difficult to come back from this situation, and Arctic Vice know this. Arctic Vice have every opportunity to just sit here and go, we're getting this next Fire Giant, we're giving you no way to come back in, and I like it. It's it's not the flashy, oh, we storm the base, get 1 Phoenix down, and then beat down the Titan super hard. This is just controlled, continuous look. And now Legionaries are having to scramble to get back to some semblance of safety. 3 members here on the right-hand side, cowering in terror at the result. They lose 1, and that's just Arctic Vice playing beautifully.
Going to be pushing forward as well with the underhand tactics. The hammer does not connect onto Sax, but doesn't need it because Diligent is there in the Astral Barrage. There is no escaping this. Rama, full attack speed, shreds through the sleepy passive from this Kumbrakana. The ratings on the wall is going to be some writing on our screen very, very shortly. Typhoon for something. That's a triple kill for this Ram. But most importantly, that is the Titan falling. GG, very well played to both of these teams. Arctic Vice will be taking this set victory 2-1.
And a good 2-1
and with some style.
Oh yeah, certainly with some style, like you said. But it's such an interesting way to see how these 3 games went. Game 2 was a hard-fought battle that Legionaries find 1 engagement in when it gets super late and run away with it in that instance. But it never felt like it was like it was a haymaker game 1, haymaker game 3. Game 2 took a long, drawn-out game. The games that Arctic win, they're both under 30 minutes here.
And I think it's very indicative of how they play. Is what a sign of what makes a difference between a good team and a great team is like a good team will be able to get a lead, but a great team is how they play around it, and that is what Arctic Vice have done so well. Literally having Legionary cohort stuck in a vice and kept on turning, kept ramping the pressure up until just game 3, it just blew over completely. As I think just in that last team fight, the only I was trying to think of ways that a Legionary cohort could maybe defend at least. It was going to be, well, Sax has to seal the Fire Giants.
I'm thinking 5 DCs, maybe the game crashes and the server gets lost. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that will definitely do it. But Sax though got into range with the Rainfire, and even then, it's just too far gone at that point. But anyway, very well played to both teams. That was certainly a show, and I think let's speak for both of us and say absolutely enjoyed that one. And that's going to do it from us on the casting desk. Is there any closing thoughts from you before we throw it back over to King Batu and Guardian?
No, the only thing is, Zelda, if I ever see you in any of my games, please, I'm a caster. Go easy on me, please.
Mercy.
Mercy indeed.
A truce, or maybe a cup of tea as well. We can settle this amicably. As Blur just has to cry under their tier 1 tower for about 10 minutes of the
Yep.
game. But anyway, that's enough from us. We're going to throw it back to the analyst desk to close out the stream and break down game number 3.
Thank you again, TJ and Blur on the cast. And Guardian, the only thing I can say to describe that third game was clinical, all around the board, every lane, every roll, just clinical game from start to finish.
Yeah, that was a very, very good game for Arctic Vice there. They couldn't have done more.
Yeah, no, just from the builds to the team fights, the ults, as well as these objectives, just start to finish, really not any sliver of a chance for them to get in. And as I'm going to steal one from the casters there, they had him in a vice that entire game, was able to close out the set 2-1.
Yep, that was great for
And,
them there, but I don't think Legionnaire Cohort could have done much different, really.
Yeah, as much as the Deaths was toting Zelda's Hyrule for that early solo lane, even despite that lead, just as a team, we're able to play these team fights so well out of the jungle, the engage, the follow-ups, the disengage, the objectives, all around. We're solid 10 out of 10. And again, props to both teams here. Wonderful 3-game set with some long nail biters, and like this last one, very clinical there. But that's going to do it for us here on the desk as well. Shout out to Guardian here on the desk, as well as TJ and Blur on the cast once more, and the wonderful feed machine running production behind the desk for us, all behind the scenes doing all the dirty work. But we will see you guys later today, 7 EST. We will bring you one more match instead of the EU team that I was lucky enough to be a part of, but we will have the NA boys. But with that, we will see you guys later, and you have a wonderful rest of your Monday afternoon.